Wait, no, that's not it. We watch anime.
We watch anime. Sorry about the shitty audio. Uh, my audio interface broke. So here we are recording out of a Logitech webcam because we couldn't possibly have replaced it before the live stream upon the amount of time we had after I discovered it. Very unfortunate that this episode will go down forever in history as the one with the shitty audio. But it's fine. A lot of the anime is pretty mid this week, anyways. If it's once more the show's quality will reflect the quality of the shows that we're watching, I guess. Oshinoko skipped a week, so we've been spared.
Hallelujah.
And Hell's Paradise came back with a good episode
Also,
that I
hallelujah.
was happy about.
That's probably
So
the best episode this week, I think.
I think I probably agree. Backers on Patreon. If you pay the $5 or on Backed.by, either website, you get access to the bonus episode of Bocchi the Rock, but also you are capable of suggesting and voting on what becomes the next bonus episode anime. So, uh, currently, Bocchi the Rock obviously won the previous poll. I imported the suggestions that were popular from that poll into the next one automatically. So that would be Imoto Sai Areba E, Xavier Renegade Angel, and Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, all of which, are things we've been suggested more than once. So far in our
Ooh,
suggestions,
hang on, real quick. Zero Soon Game just super chatted saying, here to campaign on behalf of Sunny Boy or Edge Runners for the bonus episode, and against every non-Xavier option from the last poll. I would love to cover Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about you making that suggestion is that I was about to read, maybe, wait, that was Zerotsun Game. Okay,
Mhm.
so Zerotsun Game is one of our $10 patrons, so they've already seen this list that I'm about to go through. But what they're referencing is that the suggestions we've had so far are for Sunny Boy, and then Hidden Music Island said, I'll pick that too. And then last Isis said, Cyberpunk Edge Runner, Sunny Boy, Azoken, Id Invaded, and Heike Monogatari. All of these are shows that I would absolutely love to watch and cover. They're all, like, mostly shows that I saw. Sunny Boy I've seen none of, but it was recommended to me like 700 times. And Edge Runners, Azoken, It Invaded, and I haven't seen any of Heike Monogatari, but the other ones I saw the first episode, loved it, never got around to the rest of it.
Oh, Sunny Boy looks really cool. I'm just reading the plot, but yeah, that seems like Darker Than Black a little bit.
Edge Runners, Bird has seen all of and really loved, and it got him to play the entire Cyberpunk video game
Like 4
to all
times.
of the endings. So if we were to cover that show, we would be able to do it an amount of justice that only somebody who's played the whole game, like, to fucking completion, pretty much.
Oh, no.
No?
I have not 100%ed it. Not even a little bit. I've
Okay.
done a lot.
How much does beating it 4 times get you close to 100%ing it?
I don't even know.
But yes, so that's the Zero Soon Games votes. Thank you for putting them in the form of a super chat. Appreciated. And what else do I have? I actually wrote notes for this show, so I'm like referencing back to what I've written down for once to make sure I cover everything. Because every single show I have the mental note of talk about the music, and funnily enough, this week most of the shows not that noteworthy of music. I think Magical Destroyers had like the only music that stood out to me, and it sounds like knockoff Yuki Kajiura music in a good way. Um, she's my favorite composer, so it could only be in a good way. Anyway, the next bonus episode, we will close the poll on like Wednesday, and I'll announce what the winner is, so that we have a little bit more, time to start watching it. But the Friday the 16th is when we're planning to do the actual live stream covering it. So you have until then to get on board and get your votes. You have till Wednesday to get your votes in, and then you have until Friday the 16th to get $5 together so that you could be there for the live stream. And go listen to the BOCCHI one before you get to that as well. Okay, I've rambled forever.
Ramble.
Oh, also, if you're one of the 20 people who is listening to this on Spotify, I'm really sorry that it took me so long to get these last few episodes up. I'm using basically when we hit the road, I've been on Bird's laptop that didn't have any of the editing software I'm used to, and I didn't want to like try to pirate all this shit over hotel internet and figure that out. So You know, I gotta figure out how I can make an audio only file out of my files anyway. We've been in Kansas City for like 2 weeks. We don't really have any stories about this past week. We're leaving on Monday, and we will be in St. Louis for the next 2 weeks. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it.
I don't know either, but I'm just gonna avoid saying it while we're there.
But yeah, if you want to hang out with us in St. Louis, we've hung out with people on like every weekend that we've been on this journey. So, you know,
Oh, I mean, this isn't
helps
like
if you want to buy us dinner.
this isn't a huge story, but I did a workout for the first time, like a real one for the first time in probably 3 years, and I feel better than I have in 3 years.
That's how it works. That tends to be, especially when you do
Work
the
out.
first one. That's when it really like, you know, uh, the like third one is the hardest because that's when you're kind of still exhausted from the first two, but you're like, I gotta keep doing it or I'm gonna lose the rhythm. Anyway, also, some people have asked about if we were ever gonna do live video on this show with our faces. And I really don't want to because most anime fans do not want to look at a real person's face.
That's
But
fair.
eventually we do want to do this as a convention show, as I've talked about before. And when we do that, my intent is to like still live stream it on YouTube in the same format that we currently do it, but we will separately record a live video that will be exclusive to like I don't know $1 patrons. Basically, you get to watch the video version. I think that's the only way that it would reach a production level that it would be like interesting enough to do, so it's not like just us in a hotel room like after a long day of work, because I don't think anybody needs to really see that. Our voices are always pleasant, regardless of how we may be acting on the stream. So, anyways, let's go ahead and start talking about the anime. Heavenly Delusion is one of the best episodes this week.
It's funny. Ellen was just saying that she did not like this episode at all.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I liked this one.
I'm more inclined to agree with Ellen, just because I had left the last episode feeling like Van Guy was just straight up lying.
Yes, me too. And I wasn't sure if I thought that was more or less interesting than if he wasn't, because, like, it had bothered me at the time that we got so much of that story, and it was like if it wasn't true, then I was like, well, did we
What was the
really
point?
learn anything in this episode, or was it just a guy telling stories that like set tone or whatever? To come back around and be like, okay, but we are actually going to explore that, and like, I don't know, the way it plays out, it is kind of like a yeah, I guess. I mean, obviously that's what would be the case, right? Of course, they would have been just like wiped out by a man eater, like everything else in this world,
Yep.
like, But then where the twists go at the end of the episode, I think, is really fun. It's definitely in the vein of the Doctor shooting himself,
Yes.
a few
I will
episodes ago.
say, between last week and this week, I have completely spoiled this show for myself because I was really
Yeah.
tired of how pretentious people were being talking about it.
Well, so yeah,
Not our audience, just like the general
No.
discourse about it.
We were advised by someone in the last episode, I think, that with this show, there's lots of subtle details that if you go rewatch episodes, you will start picking up on because like stuff that happens later, when you look at what happened before, you see how it was hinting towards some realities that are revealed later in the show. Potentially, it is possible that you could have surmised what is really going on just by rewatching the episodes and thinking about them really hard. The person who pitched this to us put it this way. He said, if you go on Reddit, there's these people who have obviously read the whole manga.
When then
and
they
are
talk about their theories.
pretending that they haven't, and that they, just because they watched it so many times and thought about it so hard, they figured it all out, even though it's,
See, I just went on the
anybody
Heavenly
could just read the fucking manga.
I just went on the Reddit and only clicked on the spoiler tab.
Yeah.
And there are people on there who have put out entire spreadsheets, multiple different people with multiple
Holy
different
balls.
spreadsheets
Yeah.
about like who is a man eater, who is the kid, and it goes into a lot of
You're
detail.
kind of spoiling, even by saying that much.
No, because we've talked about how it is pretty obvious that the man eaters are these kids. Because in the episode with the doctor Usami and her, like,
Right, she is, and in this one also, the kid is a man eater. Like,
Yeah.
the man eaters are kids. by and large.
Well, they're human necessarily, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to say anything more than that.
But it's apparently one of those, blink and you'll miss it, but stare deeply and you'll see all type of situations. So I was primed for this episode mostly by the fact that I think it's at Cow on Twitter, the Sakuga Boru like writer and enthusiast who always like immediately when an episode comes out that has cool animation is like tweeting gifs of it and screen caps and stuff. And was talking about how this episode's full of great faces and these great storyboards that, while very tonally different from the rest of the show, are like these detailed, cluttered. Yu Yu Cow described them as '90s style backgrounds, which I guess it harkens to like Cowboy Bebop or something like that. But actually, what this reminded me of weirdly was Fooly Cooly a lot of the time. Just like the timing and staging of shots and the way characters moved reminded me of a lot of the more subtle moments in that show and the character animations and stuff, which this show shares a lot of the undercurrents of sexual teen angst and this odd romance and coming of age stuff that's all going on. So I could definitely see a thematic through line and why that would be something that they might want to reference. But there's just lots of unique visual stuff happening in this episode.
So then at one point they cut to a flashback because this episode starts with them driving in Van Man's van. I can't remember his name.
It's
11.
Juichi. Yeah.
11. But so we see in the last episode that he has a fake 11 tattoo that rubs off. Why wouldn't you just show them the real tattoo?
Was it an 11 or something else?
It was an 11.
Okay.
It was just on his arm as opposed to there.
It is really weird that he... I mean, I guess the shoulder one is harder to show off in the story, but like, it definitely raises some questions because like obviously he was lying about knowing more about the symbol, but he wasn't lying about the other story. How much of what he was talking about is true and how much isn't? It seems like that story though is his story, his obsession, like his real deal. And he just wanted to tell it to them because he was hoping to get them involved because it's something he's trying to like recruit for.
Yeah,
I guess,
he's trying to find
mission.
his son. He's trying to find out what happened to his son.
Right, and they had wanted to know that by the end of his story, but she also just thought he was full of shit. But so I guess it's fair to think that maybe he would go, well, I may have screwed them over, but they did seem interested in my story, so I'll give it another shot just in case, But yeah, it does feel a little weird to like just go back on what we had just done in the last episode with these characters.
I feel like so this episode kind of rushes through things just a little bit. At least that's how I feel about it. I feel like
I think that's fair.
I feel like what might have been a little better, and I'm not an animator, I don't make anime, so this is just my opinion as someone who knows nothing about the industry. Maybe like the stories, right? They only needed to be the first half of the last episode, and then we could get he wasn't bullshitting, we're on our way to somewhere as the last half of the last
and then we
episode.
could have spent a lot more time in the place once we were actually there. And particularly like the character, this episode hinges on this guy killing someone, and sometimes I talk about this like I'm trying not to spoil what happens later in the episode, even though I'm assuming that you probably either watched the show or are watching it through this and don't care about the order. This episode, this guy's gonna murder someone, and we don't really know who the fuck that person is throughout the episode. They're not really focused on or highlighted to an extent that makes you think like that it has the same emotional impact as something like the Doctor episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh right. So they're about to go to the town that's all women, and Juichi just starts feeling. Her name's Kiriko, right? Or Kiriko. Starts feeling Kiriko's boobs, and Maru comes in and says, "Hey, what are you doing, feeling up another man's woman like that?"
Yeah.
And
socks
then
him in the face.
Kiriko immediately goes, "Who is whose woman?"
Yeah.
But the reason for this is the women in that town do not like women with big boobs.
Really funny. They're
And I think they even go as far to say, like Maru goes as far to say is like, why would women do that to each other or something like that?
And he's also says that like women have cut off their tits just to be able to fit into the society. Very Amazonian, I guess. Um, this scene, so basically they dress up Maru as a girl
I
to
was
fit
really
them in.
confused because I could not tell that was Maru.
Yeah, you very quickly were like, "Wait, who's this other character?" And I was like, "Did you? You must have missed the line." But yeah, I mean, I don't think that Maru looks that different dressed as a girl, but it seems to affect Hiruko in a way where she's like, "Oh,
Hiruko are the
Kiruko,
monsters.
sorry." It affects Kiruko in such a way where she's like, "Holy shit, um, you're too pretty. You might be prettier than me." And then she asks the
Who's
guy,
pretty?
like, "Who's prettier?" This is really interesting where this is going because obviously, as we know, Kiruko is living in his sister's body and has denied being a woman throughout most of the show, but also seems to be interested in Maru. It makes sense that if he is still attracted to women, that he'd be like, "Oh, now that I realize you're
But
a
this
pretty
is,
girl."
I don't feel like a guy would care.
Mm.
And
That's
maybe
kind
that,
of where I'm getting at. Is
yeah.
I don't think that's. It's like presented in such a way where it's like, oh, I recognize you as pretty, but not in a way that makes me like newly attracted to you. It makes me jealous of the fact that you might be more attractive as a girl than I am,
Kind of
which
answering
is
Maru's earlier question of why
yeah.
would women do that to each other?
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's really funny. Um, but yeah, she's pissed off about it seemingly, which is
It's also funny because this is not the only episode of anime that has cross dressing this week.
no. Well, it's certain. I mean, this season we've been having it just absolutely constantly. Pride Month,
Oh shit!
the Pride reckoning has come this season. This has been a whole season of anime Pride.
Pretty sure Japan's Supreme Court just legalized gay marriage or something. I feel like I read something about that. Not sure.
I couldn't find that.
Maybe it was
So
made
I'm
up then.
I'm
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure. If please confirm if you know in the chat because I didn't see it trending or anything, so it made me
Oh, here we go.
sus.
News story. Japanese court says government's policy against same-sex marriage is unconstitutional. It's
I
from
mean,
the
if that's what the
Associated
court
Press.
says, that should mean that.
But so I had said the Supreme Court. It's not that. My bad.
Okay.
I don't even know that Japan has a Supreme Court, to be honest.
I
So
don't either.
they're all in a building, and a Hiriko that can freeze people appears.
Yeah. So like basically, um, I kind of skipped ahead with the screen caps here, but they go to the town that the women run, and there's no one there. It's just a ghost town. It's just full of all the stuff that used to be that they used to use or whatever. And they're like, well, I guess they must have gotten wiped out by monsters. And then yeah, they start getting iced, and they're like, oh shit.
A monster.
And then they end up fighting off this like big eyeball monster, and Maru pretty easily kills it.
But it doesn't end up having a Hiroko in it or something. Because Maru at one point like tries to do diver down into,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not here. I don't know what's going on.
Right, and it's not clear if that monster was causing the ice, and then like I don't know, maybe the part of it that was causing the ice detached from it. I'm not entirely sure, but basically it keeps using these freeze moves, and she's like, but if somebody runs at you with a weapon before you freeze,
Then they can
before they
shoot
freeze,
you.
yeah, they can just shoot you. That's how she defeats it. And I also took a screen cap here of I thought this was a cool moment, and again, there's tons of interesting visuals in this episode, but this one in particular is like, I guess, a lens into the way that Kiruko thinks, which is like, I can't read all this text on screen, which unfortunately wasn't translated, but basically Kiruko is like, oh, I understand the physics of how this attack works, and is like breaking it down with a graphic in her mind in a way that like is probably based on having done these types of equations or whatever on paper before. But I know different people visualize information in different ways. I don't like this at all. I never look at something and then like picture a bunch of graphs like this, but I know people who do that. So I think that's neat. Um, anyways,
What
yeah.
if Madonna was just really obsessed with fish, and instead of like a virgin, it was like a sturgeon? Sorry,
Is a sturgeon a fish?
I believe so. Yeah.
I've never
Anyway,
heard of
sorry.
that fish. They make it to, like, they, after they beat that monster, they make it to the place where the kid is still alive. Oh yeah, it's basically like they're outside of the
town.
I skipped a screen cap here because I had them out of order.
Right. So these two dudes show up, and Juichi recognizes them as breeding. He calls them boars, but breeding pig 6, breeding pig 9. Um,
They address him first as breeding pig 11.
And then he addresses them as by their breeding pig name, and they go,
Like,
"Hey, don't
me
do that."
He's like, "You did it first, you assholes." But yeah, it turns out they have formed a society with all the escaped breeding pigs, because pretty much not long after this guy left, the monsters attacked and they all escaped. And they have his son, who is now like a toddler. And they're just kind of raising him here in the village, which seems like a pretty pleasant place. Again, we don't spend a ton of time here. There's a few minutes in the middle of the episode of people just like hanging out, having a good time. It seems like a swell place for this kid to grow up as compared to anywhere else in this world. Kiruko and Maru just kind of sleep peacefully here until a cold draft starts sweeping through the whole building.
And then Kiriko basically goes, "Hey, Maru, wake up quick. Come on, we gotta fight something." And there's ice going on. No one can really figure out where the ice is coming from until...
Well, they all run out of the building, and they were like, the ice hasn't stopped, and the kid isn't here, so we gotta go back and get the kid. Kiruko runs in, and she sees this man like dragging another guy who's passed out with ice all over him, and he's holding the kid, and he's like, "This guy's passed out, you need to take this kid and go." But you can tell just from this image
that the kid is not freezing.
Is causing the ice.
Yeah.
Like the
you
ice,
can even see, like from where it expands.
Rippling out from him across the guy.
And Maru, like later when they actually say it out loud, "Hey, the kid's causing the ice," Maru goes, "Yeah, I suspected this for a while now." It's like, then why didn't you do anything?
Yeah, Kiruko doesn't suspect it because she's so desperate to save the kid, but she ends up dragging him for like a while as she is just slowly freezing, and it's like, yeah, I think the kid might be freezing you.
And then the kid like breaks out of an ice shell, and everything's fine. It works out.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't really.
It's
know
not really
why.
Clear what
caused him to start freezing stuff? What caused him to stop freezing stuff? We really don't
know. But
is it
going back to the academy, it's like all of those kids in some way, shape, or form have an ability.
It's true.
And so the logical conclusion is this kid is descended from someone in the academy.
Okay, yeah, he's one of their kids. That would make sense. Well, I mean, he is literally the breeding pig guy's kid, right?
Yes, yeah. But then that would imply that the mother was probably someone from the academy.
That would make sense. So, yeah, we cut back to the academy, and as we know, Tokyo has gotten pregnant, but she has no comprehension of what a baby is.
She just calls it a thing.
Yeah, she's like, they're going to remove the thing inside of me soon, and I'll be able to get back to the guy that she likes. It's kind of sad that she views her baby as like a disease that's growing inside of her because that's all she's been taught. I'm sure there are women who think that way, and it's unfortunate again. But we know Maru came out okay, and we're pretty sure that's going to be the baby. So they also
introduce a new group of fifth years.
Yeah,
who we have seen quite a bit in the show before. Like all of these new kids, at least one of these new kids, there's a girl with glasses who we have seen at least once before.
They introduce or reintroduce like 12 or so of these like the weirdest looking kids possible, all of whom look like they have some kind of demented thought in mind, and you're like, oh, these are clearly actually maybe this one's the mom of the baby. She looks like she could be the same genealogy. So story short.
Does the flashback happen after this or before?
It cuts to him cutting his throat and then explains why.
Okay, so when this was happening, I was fucking confused because I thought this was a woman, even though obviously I can see the chin hair on him now. But so I thought this was a flashback to him escaping the village or something.
Right.
And then it then explains that no, this is not a flashback. This is Boar number 9. And the reason Juichi is killing him is because when Juichi was escaping the compound of women, Boar number 9 yelled out, "Hey, someone's escaping.
Yeah.
Get him, get him." And that is the reason that... Oh, what's the fucking kid's name? Jugo? Something like that. That is the reason that
Juichi.
No, the kid.
Oh, okay.
Jugo, I think, is his name.
Yeah, okay.
That is the reason that Jugo's mom
Jugo
was
would
killed.
mean 10, I think.
That's
no,
funny.
No, it would mean 15.
Well, anyway, whatever the kid's name, Boar number 9 calls out as they're escaping, and that is the reason the mom, and I assume also the mom's lover, die.
Yeah. So he basically, as he had put it throughout the episode, he was saying that he wanted revenge on the people who had wronged him, and he was really depressed when they had found that everyone was dead, because he had, like, that was his sense of purpose, was to try to avenge them and, like, see if the kid was still alive. So, you know, yeah, he got his opportunity for revenge, and I understand why this snitch needed to die, because he did get the wife.
It is funny, because he's introduced as Boar number 9, and then when it's at the flashback, where it's like, someone's yelling, "Hey, someone's escaping," the subtitles go, "Boar number 9."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this guy's about to die. It hadn't clicked with me yet that was the guy. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst episode in terms of storytelling. It's just a little confusing.
It is, but what I like about the ending of this episode is that, like, I mean, it's not morally right at all for him to have revenged on this guy. It is somewhat understandable, but it also raises the idea of, like, that kid was doing pretty well there.
Yeah.
That was a nice society.
And he just took the kid away.
That kid is gone now. He is now with the dad in a car going somewhere to lie to more people or whatever.
Based on the last episode of Juichi's behavior, I can only assume he's going to use that kid to, like, commit crimes or something. I don't know. I really hope we don't have to see those characters again. They're really not that interesting to me. Unless, I guess, we learn what the hell is going on, but...
I understand why Ellen Huraisen in chat doesn't like this one, saying, like, you know, it feels like every arc now has to have some tragic, fucked up ending after the Doctor one.
It's almost like it's a delusion of sorts. You think everything is going to be okay, and then,
I just think the show was always going to go in a direction of, like, get darker. Like, yeah. I mean, episode 2, we had the mom of the kid get, like, her fucking head whipped in half, and that to me was the moment that the story had a pulse. Like, that, even back when I read the first volume of the manga, like, that's when I went, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is like everything everyone likes about The Walking Dead or The Last of Us, but like in a cool, edgy teenage anime form, you know, with mysteries and interesting art and fun characters sometimes. And like, to me, these are the moments I'm going to remember from the show, are going to be the dark, edgy, violent, questionable moral stuff that makes you think about it, because it hits you. It's, you know, I'm a big proponent of anime as a delivery device for moe and guro concepts, of like things that are either going to lift your heart to think about or are going to make you stronger because thinking about them prepares you for how fucked up life is going to be.
Another weird thing about this whole murder thing is Juichi chooses to do this with a circular buzzsaw instead of like any kind of normal weapon. The only reason I take issue with this is they're surrounded by other people. A buzzsaw is loud, and they immediately noticed as soon as Juichi was running.
Yeah.
He takes their car, he escapes. Bahoo.
Did they establish that buzzsaw earlier? Like,
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing it. It just kind of appears, and then he's holding it.
I wouldn't be surprised, based on the way people talk about this show, if it was like, actually, it was in the show 4 episodes ago. This guy was carrying it in his backpack.
But we haven't seen these guys 4 episodes.
No, I know. All right, I think that's it for Heavenly Delusion. Next up is Hell's Paradise. This was probably both of our favorite episode of this week.
This show continues to be, I mean, it's pretty much tied with Mashle for my favorite. Mashle was not awesome this week, as it usually is.
It was really setting up. Mashle has a tendency to have, like...
Setup, payoff. Setup, payoff. Setup, payoff.
And the setup sometimes, like...
Which is a lot better than Oshi no Ko, which is setup, payoff, wait, we have a fun episode where we're not doing anything. Set up, payoff, wait, we have a fun episode where we're not doing anything. And I could just do completely without the wait, we're not doing anything, we're just having fun.
Luckily, we don't have to watch that show this week.
Visal was in the last episode. It was used as a way to protect himself.
Somehow I knew it was gonna be more than it was gonna be at least an episode ago. I knew it was gonna be like that. Heavenly Delusion. All right. Anyway,
I'm gonna have to read this fucking manga because I'm getting. I really don't like when shows do not tell you things.
Yeah.
And we're, 10 episodes in now?
Yeah.
And they really haven't told us much.
I'm assuming the show is not going to end in one season, right? It can't be how long is the manga?
I think so. It's not done, I don't think.
Oh, really? It's not done?
I don't think so.
Well, then the anime is definitely not going to finish. I didn't realize it wasn't even over.
Let me double check.
All right, we're not talking about Heavenly Delusion. We're talking about Hell's Paradise. This episode there was no show last week. And the week before that, there was no Gabimaru, the main character, or
anyone else.
It was just the backstory of two guys, one of whom died, and the other of whom is now running around with a slit throat and a little girl, who is a badass, granted. This one starts off back where our...
Sorry, real quick. Heavenly Delusion manga is still ongoing, and it's 8 volumes in.
8 volumes. Okay, that's usually enough for a 26-episode show.
Just 50 chapters or something? I don't know how much
there's
manga
usually either 5 or 10 chapters, depending on the length of if it's monthly or weekly, basically. Right. But anyways, so Hell's Paradise, it starts off this episode. We're cutting back to Gabimaru and friends, who we left behind at a bathhouse in the middle of this weird petrified former town at the heart of the island, at the heart of Hell's Paradise. I am surprised by, I don't know how long this manga is or how much of the story they've covered so far. Obviously it moves at a fucking breakneck pace, but this does actually feel like it's kind of getting towards its conclusion. We're at the heart of the place. We've whittled down the cast to the essential core members. I won't be surprised if this actually has an ending in episode 13, or at least a really good sequel tease. But anyways, we've had our moment of rest, and Gabimaru is kind of just wandering around, and he finds this place where there's all these trees that are praying towards the center. We actually don't learn what this is until the end of the episode, but I think this is the only screen cap I took of it. So basically, each member of the village slowly turns into more and more of a tree until they lose their sense of consciousness, take this pose, and root down. And the Groot guy that guided them to this place at the end of the last episode is close to doing this himself. But the bulk of this episode, and even though we love this one, it is very straightforward. It's not going to take us long to talk about.
They fight. It's fighting.
It's a huge fucking fight. It's a big old fight. It's a big, fun, cool, action-packed fight. Because in this show so far, power levels have been off the fucking scale. There's never been a sense of what could challenge Gabimaru, but also there's a sense of what could challenge these godlike beings that inhabit the island that have beat the fuck out of all the other badass characters near to death, although a bunch of them are still alive.
But again, this is just kind of a reiteration that Gabimaru is maybe not the most badass, but absolutely the most driven of any of them.
And even then, he doesn't really win this confrontation. He might. The episode portrays it like he's fucking basically dead at the end, but he's probably not dead.
I have an itching feeling that this is not the first time we're gonna see Gabimaru dead. Air quotes.
Well, the whole first episode was just him being killed over and over again, and it failed.
Well, but they didn't really succeed.
No.
I think now we're going to reach a point where it's just constantly hey, is he dead? We don't know.
Yeah, well...
And I don't know that I'm excited for that.
They're not going to kill him until the end of the show, obviously, but
I don't think they're going to kill him.
Has this manga ended, by the way?
Yes.
Do you know? How many volumes is this one?
I don't know. I do know the ending.
But this is only... I think they could probably wrap this up in 13 episodes, right?
No.
No? Okay, so you think this is going to have more seasons?
To explain very simply without spoiling too much, They do not succeed on their mission fast enough for the Shogun, and so the Shogun sends a second team. And so that's probably
Okay.
going to be the second arc, if I had to
I
guess.
see. So there's enough. There's
And they've
plenty
even
of manga
they've
to go.
alluded to that already
Right.
in the show.
Amazing.
It has 128 chapters.
Oh boy. All right. Well, damn. Yeah, they're saying it'll be 3 seasons in the chat. So, shit. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited
happy
if they
for
go
it.
through all of it because it's Mappa usually does do multiple seasons of shows.
Do you think it's just going to come out like next season? We have season 2, season no. Okay, I didn't think so.
It'll probably be like a year or 2
Oh,
or
that
some
sucks. I don't want to leave Gabimaru alone.
Well, I mean, the manga, you can go read the manga of this one too if you want.
Yeah, and I could have read the graphic novel for the boys when that was coming out, but do you see
We
me doing
literally
that?
don't have any time to realistically read until this show is making us enough money, which is not going to happen if we keep having audio problems. But until this show makes us enough money that we can do less day job, there's no fucking chance we have any time to even watch other anime. Like, I have days where I'm just like thinking about how badly I want to show Bird like Shirobako or like a Ghibli movie, or there's something I was just thinking of earlier today that I really want us to watch. We'd both love to watch Darker Than Black again.
That would be a fun one to review for a bonus episode. Hey, $10 patrons, please, please. I haven't seen
that show's 24 episodes long though, so that would be like a real ask for us to do as one bonus.
We could do
episode.
part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, but then people have to vote that over other shows they want to vote on. You're probably gonna have to wait years before people, have exhausted their gamut of shows they already want us to talk about. Anyways, yeah, Gabumaru, he and this demon that beat up the guys from the last episode basically just beat the fuck out of each other for like 10 solid minutes. It's pretty fun to watch. They break out all their powers. Here's Gabumaru goes sicko mode on this thing, punching just... he reaches a point where he's like, I just have to hit it so fast it can't regenerate. And he's kind of successful with that, to the effect of it has to reveal its true form, which I think the FromSoft devs would be very jealous of this design. Like, this is like an Elden Beast.
Yeah, so Gabimaru just kicks this
cross with a moonlight
person's
butterfly.
ass the whole time. Tensen? They're called Tensen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Gabimaru's just kind of kicking ass, and in turn he's getting his ass kicked, and so he kind of just like pulverizes the humanish form of this thing, and then it transforms into a big flower with 2 humans.
I think that there's only one, like, I loved this whole action scene because it's just fun, but like the undercurrent of it is that this thing is really questioning if Gabimaru is human. It's like,
You're right.
believe
At
you're
one
human.
point in this fight, the monster goes, "Could you be? You're tougher than the other ones. Could
Yeah.
you be? Never mind."
Yeah.
I also I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't you just finish the sentence?
No, of course not. But yeah, it's very suspect of Gabimaru's humanity based on him just being so much tougher than anything it's fought in like millennia or whatever. Gabimaru has a whole vision quest into his mind where he remembers his wife and has a nice little moment, and then he remembers Shinobi rule number 20, which is if you're about to die, just use all the power you have left to try to kill the opponent.
And hey, Gabimaru, don't worry. If you forget about this, all your training is specifically to ingrain this in you.
Yes, no, it's not something that he has to will himself to do. He has been like hardcore programmed to, like, if his body knows that he is probably going to die, then it's going to self-destruct. And it literally is like a Pokemon using self-destruct. Like, he cuts the thing up close with his sword and then just kind of explodes. And it's enough to convince the monster that he's dead. And it goes back to hang out with its other 5 friends. These, the pink and the
other
yellow
Tensen.
one.
There's 6 of them, I believe, or 7 total.
The pink and yellow are the ones who were doing the lesbian makeouts before.
And so when we cut to the scene, the pink and yellow ones are talking about basically, the yellow one goes, I like to be a man more often because it's more functionality, and functionality is sexy.
Yeah.
And then the pink-haired girl goes, well, I like to be a girl because everyone wants to look at a naked girl.
Yeah.
And then, they have a little bit more of an argument.
Yellow's like, well, pink also is like, well, you were just making out with me as a girl the other day.
He says that was for experimentation.
But they're having like an argument about it. I just
Um,
really have to emphasize how much I love the guy with the fucking purple face.
He's pretty cool. I can't wait to see
Purple
him.
face and red
And
face
red
is
flowers.
also really nice.
Yeah.
But purple face is like next fucking level.
Real quick, did you know Gabimaru is 16?
Oh my god, that's hilarious. How old is the girl supposed to be?
The wife? Or,
No, the main
I don't know. Let
girl.
me see.
So yeah, the whole meeting of the monsters is basically to introduce them as like a cell, what they're kind of like
17.
hanging out, and their boss who's like really strict, who's like, you know, you really fucked up by having to use your special form, so we're on the back foot. We really need to get an advantage and fucking kill these guys. And then meanwhile, Gabimaru has seemingly been pulled out of the stream by the little girl. Who's like knocked out.
She like surrounds him in a protection bubble, and then they like soar down the mountain in the bubble.
Okay,
and I think the monster even says like, "May, what are you doing?"
Yes, I do remember that line. But yeah, the Master Swordsman dude and his Guardian dude.
Favorite character, by the way. This guy's great. He's fucking huge.
Yeah. Very last second, they stumble upon Gabimaru. So this is going to be a fun team up. I'll be interested to see his chemistry with Gabimaru. And I don't know, probably also death warrant signing just to bring these characters back right now. But, we'll see what happens. And that's Hell's Paradise. Really enjoyable.
It was a great episode.
Pretty straightforward.
I mean, I hope we get to see more stuff happen next week, or just a little more explanation as to what the hell's going on with the Tensen. Also, you don't have a screen cap of this, but it is explained by the tree man. So Gabimaru kind of escapes in the middle of the night to start the fight with the Tensen, and he comes across a bunch of trees that look like
I explained this at the start.
Oh,
because
sorry.
He shows up there at the start of the episode, and they don't explain it, but then they explain it later.
Okay. Did you explain that the 7 Tensen are the split personalities of one god?
No, I did not.
So there was one immortal person who got so good at being immortal that she split, or I don't know if it's a she, honestly.
I mean,
they
didn't come on.
They split themselves into 7 personalities, and those are the Tensen, the fun-colored people, like fun hair color and flower dudes. They all have different roles. They all do different things. Those roles are not explained.
I'm excited that Hell's Paradise and Heavenly Delusion have pretty consistently been like the higher tier anime this season, besides Skip and Loafer, which is also good this week, and most of everything else was pretty mid. So we're gonna be going through as we walk through the show. Although the other Saturday show, Dangers in My Heart, is also solid this week.
Yeah.
Saturday is the day for anime this season. Like, Saturdays and Tuesdays, those are the days that I get excited about. Everything else, I'm like, oh man, I hope it'll be all right. Mashle was kind of, again, we said this earlier, but it's not even that it's mid, it's just a very setup heavy episode, and I don't think that this author is very good at balancing, like, keeping up the sense of humor of Mashle with having to do setup, because Mashle is great when it builds to an epic punchline. Sometimes that's a literal punch. Just, Silva getting his ass beat at episode 6 was like the highlight of the whole show.
Yeah.
And episode 5, which was the build up to that, was not that interesting. So.
And then we had the episode where Shark Boy and Lava Girl or Shark Boy and Shuriken Boy came out. That was fun. That was all right.
So this one, like, it's building towards putting us in a situation where more funny things can happen, but nothing really all that funny happens in this one, and its attempts to be like a typical shonen battle manga just kind of fall a little bit flat.
So this episode starts off with Mask Guy, who we saw in the Shark Boy episode, just kicking, I forget his name, Quidditch Boy's ass.
No, this is some other dude. It's this guy from Orca who like challenges him in the hallway.
He's the magma guy.
Fucking murdered. Yeah. That's just like a cold open, a very cold ass open to the episode. But yeah, then we meet, Quidditch Man, Mr. Bamboo, who is totally low energy. They're like, "What the hell happened to you? You've been sapped of your whole character." And he's like, I had this fucked up nightmare. Normally I never dream because I'm so
I go to sleep and I wake up.
Yeah, I'm just so consistent with myself that there's nothing to sort out mentally. But I had this fucked up nightmare, and now I'm
He was like trapped in
out
a
of it.
clear box or something that he couldn't get out of.
And there's a whole bunch of other people in the infirmary who have dealt with the same thing. So someone's really fucking with their guys.
Lemon it makes Mash a cream puff good luck charm, and I'm surprised Mash did not try to eat it.
I'm surprised too.
I think he
seems to appreciate it.
His response is, "What's the bow for?" And she punches him in the face.
Yeah, she just punches him and gives him a bloody nose, but it's because she wears a bow.
It's because she likes Mash.
Yeah. I think he picks up on that. I just don't think
I just don't think Mash cares at all. I don't think Mash is thinking about sex. I think he's thinking about his dad not being murdered.
Right. And also, like...
And shoe cream.
Nonetheless, he seems to appreciate the gesture, because while he doesn't really say much about it, she makes him... she says to him, you have to not do anything too dangerous. And he just kind of agrees. And she's like, and you have to carry this thing around and think of me all the time. And he agrees. And Mash is a man of his word.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what was really going through his mind when he agreed, because he's just kind of blank staring into the shoe cream. But, it's possible that he's never appreciated a gesture in his life more than this. It's hard to get a read on this guy sometimes. So there's like a weird scene where they're kind of like following
just like
a
walking
puppet
down the
version
hall.
of her.
Dot sees Lemon and says, "Oh wow, she looks even better from behind."
Which is really funny because she's wearing like the most rags possible, like
it's
the
Harry Potter
heaviest
clothes.
coat. Yeah,
like you can't. There's no form in those.
Nothing revealed at all. I wrote in my notes that he is even more down bad than Denji from Chainsaw Man. We kept saying it how Denji was the most down bad anime character. This guy is, because he's not getting anything at all. Like, Denji was getting play pretty quickly in Chainsaw Man. He's getting offers to touch tits. He's getting his hands put on tits. He's getting made out with and thrown up in his mouth. Fucking red hair from this show, nothing. Nothing. He can't even get to a Brock level of getting a girl to say something back to him. Nothing at all. But yeah,
and he hates handsome guys. It's understandable. It's interesting that he chooses to hate handsome men as opposed to, I would say, like the more common real world thing of just disliking women.
Yeah. Well, because he's a white knight also.
Not very good at it.
The establishment of this team. This is kind of where this show. As somebody who really loves Gintama, which is a show that manages to succeed at parodying action manga while also successfully like hitting all the plot beats that make you love those manga so much, this story, it feels like when it's doing the comedy, when it's doing the subversion, it's having an amazing time, and when it's doing the connecting bits, it's just kind of going through the motions of what is typical of the genre. And so, like, the way our four-man band is, strung together is, like, Mash and Blue Hair are the only ones who are really serious characters at all.
Yeah.
They are actually strong, they're competitive.
I don't think we've
with
even
the enemies.
seen Mash's roommate, like, use magic yet.
Yeah. And his roommate and the red hair guy, Dot, they're, like, the reasons they come along is, like, they just kind of don't want to be left behind. And so it makes this weirdly unbalanced team where you really feel like there's two strong guys and two weak guys. And when I saw them pulling up on this door in the ground, it really reminded me of Yu Yu Hakusho, because at the start of that show, basically you've got Yusuke as the main character. Kuwabara ends up sort of tagging along with him, and there's two demons that he reforms, Kurama and Hiei, that come along with him. And there is reason to think that Kurama and Hiei are like especially Hiei is like way more powerful than Yusuke or Kuwabara, but there's no reason to think Yusuke or Kuwabara is weak. Kuwabara is like the funny comic relief character.
What about Urameshi?
Yeah, that's Kuwabara. That's
okay. Sorry.
Urameshi is Yusuke's last
I
name.
haven't seen this show. No. I only have the really bad animation of Yusuke, Urameshi, Yusuke, Urameshi. Anyway.
You have seen Hunter x Hunter, though.
Yes.
And this also reminded me of that.
It's the Hunter exams.
Yes, when they're going down into the pyramid and they like go through it. There's
or the Chimera Ant arc.
There's a little bit of a rhythm that manga authors and to me what this
or
reads
the
as,
election arc.
What this always reads to me as is editor
or the Greed Island arc.
Look, If you're writing for Shonen Jump, you are writing 20 pages of manga every fucking week, which means that you have a window of like, I don't know, a day to figure out what you're going to be writing that week. And then like a day to write that, and then like 5 days for your team to make that into 20 pages of art. It's insane. There only is like a certain small, very small category of people who actually can successfully do jump manga. And for you to do that, it is not something you are meant to undertake by yourself at all. You have editors who have lots of experience with working with stories that work, and who will tell you what works and how to get your characters from point A to point B. And when I see these connecting threads in a show like Mashle, I can't help but think like, maybe the author is just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do the thing that I've seen in all these other manga, or maybe the editor is like, hey, I'm just gonna tell you to do this thing that all these other manga have done. Either way, it is Shonen Jump du jour. It is, no, that's not what I mean. That means of the day.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that is what I mean. It's just another one. It's another standard Shonen Jump. You know, you just replace the face elements, but like, I look at this shot and I see Yu Yu Hakusho, I see Hunter x Hunter, which are both manga that I'm sure editors had a strong hand in guiding the path of, because Yu Yu Hakusho is a manga that changes completely from like the first part of it into the part that actually got adapted into an anime, not unlike Yu-Gi-Oh. So like, you know, our characters sort of, the way this episode is structured, like they enter a...
So basically, they're following Lemon, and they come up to this empty room, and they're like, where'd she go? What happened? And they keep hearing noises, and Blue Hair goes, it's just magic, and he uses a spell which literally is disclose. You know, before now, I guess, you know, Shark Guy's attacks were literally like shark form magic, but like before now, the magic kind of had fun names.
Yeah.
Like Graviol, but this one's just disclose. I thought that was kind of lame. But anyway, there's a door. He can't open it, so Mash, using a sword and a suit of armor as leverage, breaks the door open.
He like stomps on the ground so that it lifts up a little, and then, you know, shoves the sword under, and then kicks that. The sword would break. The sword would not be stronger than the door. And they should have maybe, I don't know, maybe a line where they say all of the swords in the school are magical. I don't know.
So you had said this when it happened, and my response, and it's purely just because last night I explained in-depth Mashle to some random guy I met. He's just like a contractor. He's just hanging out. I was smoking cigarettes. We got to talking. And I had to explain to him just like, yeah, I mean, you have to go into it just with your expectation or what disbelief completely suspended. You can't.
Yeah, no. Well, obviously, since the helicopter legs, we've known that
that was actually the scene I used to explain how ridiculous Mashle is.
It's just that this isn't Mash being ridiculously strong. It's that sword being ridiculously strong. That's why it
maybe he scared the sword into not breaking. He did that with the broom or something.
It was the letters that he scared into organizing themselves so that he wouldn't tear the paper.
I do think he scares the broom as well.
So at this part, this again, like, this is something that literally happens in both Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. Is like the four characters invade a castle. They meet a guy standing in like a tournament arena room, like a video game boss battle arena, and the guy is like, I'm gonna stop you guys. And then, you know, the main character is like, fuck this guy, and then other guy goes, wait, hold on,
I got this.
Let me do this. In Yu Yu Hakusho, this is Kuwabara, I think, went first and has like a 3-episode long battle against the first bad guy, which kind of sucked.
Ellen said in the chat a little earlier, like, man, every time Kurobawa goes up to fight, I'm rooting for him to die.
I love Kuwabara. I think everyone in Yu Yu Hakusho starts as an asshole, and then they become really good, heroic people. It's the most arc.
Unfortunate the writer couldn't follow that arc.
Oh, come on. He's just like dying of being alive, you know? It's not his fault.
Anyway, so this guy, I can't remember his name, but he explains that this is a a dueling arena that not even the teachers know about because it's so old. So I assume the Magia Lupus are the only ones who know about it. It's not really clear. Um, this red-haired guy is like, oh, you guys beat up Silva. It's a shame that guy has 2 lines. Doesn't matter how much magical power you have, it's about how you use it.
Yeah.
And then, the whole fight begins. Dot fights this guy. This guy has rose magic, which I think is pretty cool. Although it doesn't, I wish there were some roses.
Rose whip, just like Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho.
I don't know how that is. But anyway, I just wish, there were literal flowers on it instead of just thorns.
He calls it rose. I mean, I think he had a flower that turned into the thorns.
No, I don't think so. No, the thorns just get bigger. So anyway, this all right before all this happens. Dot is sending a bunch of his magic, which are exploms, I think is what they're called. Mm-hmm. And he, after a bunch of barrages that don't really work out that well, Dot creates a circle of, I guess, traps.
He calls them traps.
And Rose guy is like, do you really? How are you going to get me to step on these? What are you doing here?
It's really obvious that the answer is not going to be that he has to step on them. It's something else. And you're kind of hoping that it will be something clever or interesting, or maybe he will trick him into moving.
It's a little clever and interesting. So basically what happens is he uses the first spell on Dot, which is grab, and the vines grab him. And then he uses thorns, which make the thorns bigger and really hurt him. And then he tries to use, I think, drop is what it's called.
Yeah.
And the vines start to drop him, and as this is happening, Dot goes, I never actually said anything about you stepping on those, right? And then the vine coming out of his wand touches the sigil and explodes.
So this is confusing to me, because he gets the guy to drop the vine onto the bomb, and one of them goes off.
Instead of all of them.
And then he says that they are all time bombs. So it was never about getting him to touch them. They were all just set to a timer.
He even acts like he's smart and goes like, what, was I going to set off time bombs in front of you while I told you what I was doing? And it's like, I guess you're right. You outsmarted him a little bit, but it's kind of a dumb plan. What if it didn't work? What if the timing was off?
Well, so there's a few problems I have with this, actually, the more I'm thinking about it. One, if they're time bombs, why does he then detonate them with a spell?
I mean, I assume he just can do that.
Yeah, but why bother with them being time bombs if none of them are activated by way of an amount of time running out? Maybe this is just a translation problem. I don't know. The other thing is, they're all in a circle around the guy. So if he could have blown him up at any time,
he should have just
why
blown
didn't he
him
just
up.
Do it right away? If the guy didn't have to move for the effect to be different, then what the hell was the point of waiting all that time if, again, they're not time bombs? He activates them with the spell. Or maybe he just can only use that spell after an amount of time, but they can also be activated by falling on them. It doesn't fucking work, so it doesn't matter. It just felt kind of pointless and a little too convoluted and not funny. It wasn't a funny thing that he did. It wasn't really that clever. So
then the guy's mostly fine. We see his wand gets blown up, so he's just kind of chilling there. And then, everyone starts sinking into the ground. And it's really cute because Mash goes save my child. And he's talking about the shoe cream charm.
Yeah.
But so Dot and, I don't remember the roommate's name, get dropped into a battle with, I think her name, it's what? It's Love Honey or something like that.
Both have really
and then his name
names.
Is Super Genius or something. It's not Super Genius, but it's literally something genius.
Beck Genius.
Love Cute, that's her name. It's Love Cute, I think. But anyway, these names are stupid.
Yeah, it's so okay. This was a scene where I appreciate what they're doing as a setup of it would be really boring to do literally the Yu Yu Hakusho thing and have each character fight a different guy over
So we're just going to be cutting. The next episode, it's going to be them cutting between all these fights happening. Or they are just going to do the Yu Yu Hakusho thing, and we're just going to see one fight at a time.
It's also they reorganized it in such a way where so the difficulty going into this arc was that Fire Guy was taking on the first fight, and the first guy that he was fighting said that he was stronger than Silva, who we watched beat Fireman's ass, Dot's ass, and There's no reason to think Dot could beat that dude at all.
Well, and Dot
he
even
doesn't.
says he got his ass kicked. Like, I think
Yeah.
out loud he says this.
So it was weird that they even staged him as like a guy who could fight that guy, and then they just kind of take them away. Like, these two have now been brought into a new scenario with two other characters that we don't know how strong they are, what their deal is. Whatever. I don't know if Blue Hair is now going to fight the guy that Dot was fighting. Or
Her name is actually Love Cute. I fucking this
Yeah.
show. His name, the other guy's name is Milo Genius.
It makes me think of like Milo Yiannopoulos combined with Max Genius from Pokemon.
Who's Max Genius? I don't know that one.
That's May's brother, Max. Isn't that?
Is May's last name Genius?
No, wait. Am I thinking of someone from another show? I know there's a character named Max Genius in an anime. Anyway, yeah, I did. Again, it felt very like the bad guy who Dot fought in this episode. He was just a pretty boy who doesn't really give a fuck. He wasn't an interesting villain. His powers weren't that interesting. The fight wasn't that interesting. And then we introduce a bunch of characters with silly names that we don't know anything about, and it's hard to get hype about it after what we just saw. So it's like, I really hope this goes in a good direction. I have faith that this show can be really funny, and I really hope that they're trying to set us up for more funny fights than whatever we just saw in this episode that was a little too serious. All right, no more Mashle. We're gonna really burn through this week of Pokemon quickly.
Hang on, wait, worth mentioning because you don't have a screen cap of it. Before the end, it shows who they're all going to fight against. So these two are fighting against the two lines, and Mash's roommate is just freaking the fuck out. Like, holy shit, we can't win against these guys. I don't remember who Blue Hair is against, but Mash is against the mask person we saw from the last episode, and the masked person just pretty much immediately clocks Mash and goes, "Hey, you can't use magic, can you?"
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Mash is like freaking the fuck out because no one has really been able to tell until now.
Yeah.
And the masked guy masked guy goes, "Hey, don't worry about it. You know, I'm also shunned by society," and then does not explain why.
Yeah, it's probably going to be explored in the next episode. But yeah, all right, Pokemon time. I get the feeling the next episode of this show is going to be good, because the next episode preview showed some stuff from the game that looks exciting. But this episode was kind of a low point in the series because it is, again, very slow, but also repetitive in that we basically already went through the same conflict. It's another episode about Liko having to like rediscover her connection with Nyaoja. So basically, you know, she's coming back home to Paldea. Her biggest concern throughout this episode is, am I going to have to leave the Rising Volteckers now that they're actually bringing me home? They've finished the protection job.
Hey, we did this once already.
Right. We already had her commit to continuing the adventure, so this feels redundant, as does the conflict she has with her Pokemon, and almost nothing else happens in this episode. There's not a subplot with Roy and Fuecoco. They're just kind of around. There is kind of a subplot with... Isn't this girl also named Dot? The pink-haired girl in
Yeah,
the show?
she is named Dot.
Are there really two Dots in this season? That's hilarious. So Dot has kind of a subplot of supporting Liko and Nyahoja's relationship from a distance. I'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, again, this is a quick one we can just burn through. They head back home. There's scenes that you remember from the game. I haven't really played Scarlet and Violet yet, so...
Well, they show Orange Academy. I thought it was strange that they just chose one to use. Like, does that imply that Scarlet or Violet Academy or Purple Academy or whatever exists somewhere else in Paldea?
Yeah, for sure, right?
Well, but they look exactly the same in the games. They're the same place.
I see. So you're saying there's multiple versions of the same
so
thing.
in Scarlet, this is Orange Academy, and in Violet, it's Purple Academy.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the best part of the episode, is when we see your boy.
Oh yeah, so we see a Cyclizar come up, and literally he's making motorcycle engine noises, and it is adorable. I was so happy about it, because I didn't want him to just be going like Cyclizar or whatever.
Yeah.
He's literally going... It's adorable. And he even makes idling sounds when he's not moving.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we got Cyclizar, and he's got the whole, like, seat and everything. I don't know.
It is explained that the writer...
the
warms
Cyclizar
his
likes
back
the
and
warmth.
keeps him, calm or something. So basically, Dot talks to the old man on the ship about the fact that she can see that there's pretty much when Liko gets home, her dad's there. He's all covered in paint, so she's like, "Don't fucking hug me when you're covered in paint." Her dad is. I'm gonna have a screen cap of him in a bit, but he's adorable, A+ dad, and he has a pet. He has a Pokemon.
Mochi.
Puppy Mochi.
Puppy Mochi. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Fido in English.
Yeah, but in Japanese, I guess it's a Mochi dog. So Puppy Mochi is her dad's Pokemon that as soon as she gets home, immediately like glomps her and is all over her. And so Nyaoja is jealous, very similar to Chikorita's relationship with Ash in the Johto League, except Chikorita was much more of a bitch about it, and it was never really resolved because Ash doesn't communicate with any Pokemon he has that is not Pikachu on the regular. But in any case, Dot asks for advice to the old man, like, should I do something about the fact that I see this thing happening? And he says, hearing a knock but not answering is no different from being out.
And I literally thought this was just him reacting to her, like, because when she first shows up, she's like, oh, you're here. Yeah. Oh, huh, weird. I didn't know you were here. I thought this was just him, like, giving weird sage advice as to why he didn't announce his presence more.
Yeah, he says something after this that's like a more clarifying statement that's similar. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but yeah, so he's just like, hey, you should do something. Oh, okay, here's her getting glomped by the dog. And the dad, he's talking to the leader of the Rising Volteckers, what's the fucking guy's name? Freed. And he's like, I don't know if she could live by herself. And she overhears this.
Because she's looking for Nyahoja.
Yeah, she kind of gets, like, noticed overhearing this and pretends that she wasn't, like, jumps through the window and is like, I'm looking for my cat. And the cat's up on the mantle. And basically, she's just frustrated that Nyahoja isn't, like, being normal, isn't being good. And that's not really the vibe.
Nyahoja is pissed off because I think what happens is, so it's Puppy Mochi has the ability to breathe on things and make them ferment. We see Holgator react to this very positively, and he like gets really big. And then Nyahoja, I'm not sure if it's because of the fermenting thing or if she's just pissed off that Liko is paying attention to Puppy Mochi.
It's just jealousy over. Well, it's not even so much that Liko's paying attention; it's that Puppy Mochi jumps all over her when she gets home, and like immediately Nyahoja's like, well, what the fuck, like, I don't. Because Nyahoja isn't like that. Like, it's not glomping her that way. So it's a little bit like, oh, I missed my shot to get this close. And also, why didn't you ever tell me you had another Pokemon that was even closer to you throughout your whole life, you know? But, so Liko kind of gets snippy with Nyahoja. She ends up going home, or she goes back to the ship by herself. And she kind of thinks of that as her home in that moment. Nyahoja, obviously the Puppy Mochi being like the older Pokemon kind of recognizes what's going on and is like, hey, I'm gonna bring you this pillow that's on your girl's bed, and they immediately bond. They
bond, yeah.
The tension is completely over now. It is they're just friends instantly. Meanwhile, Liko, while heading through town or back to her house, gets attacked by this adorable fucking pig thing. What's this thing called? Fat boy?
Lechonk.
Lechonk.
They don't say his Japanese name.
And I love this thing. It's fucking adorable. But I actually don't remember how that resolves, her interacting with the Lechonk. Meanwhile, Dot is out airing the costume on top of the ship.
Because it smells so bad.
And there's a moment where Liko, like, while running back home, like, sees it up there and is like, wait, is that... I can't think about this right now. I have something more important to do. So, it's possible she's going to discover pretty soon what's going on there. But yeah, basically, they all make up. She decides to go with the team. It's fucking everything you thought was going to happen happens. There was nothing really interesting. Most of this was just, I guess, to establish Liko's dad and what her home life is like that we didn't see that much in the first episode. That stuff's fine. the dog thing was cute. There was a few shots of like each Hoppip evolution in this episode.
Yeah, we got I think it starts with Skip Plume and then Jumpluff and then Hoppip. It's adorable. They're all adorable.
Yeah.
The Jumpluff is probably the cutest because it's just three of them like dancing around a bush.
I feel like there just wasn't as much Pokemon
I did
or
not.
as much stuff.
So there was plenty of Pokemon in this episode. My problem with this episode is that we already did the Nyahoja needs to earn, or Liko needs to earn Nyahoja's trust thing, and I was not a fan of having to go through it again.
But like, and also, where's the new bad guys? Like, like the whole first 6 or 7 episodes, we had this villain team chasing our heroes. It got old because it was the same battle over and over again, but like those guys got kicked off and a new guy was brought in, and I'm pretty sure that hasn't been mentioned at all in the last 2 episodes. So, still kind of waiting on that to resolve. Bird went to the bathroom, so I'll wait a second before we move on to the next anime because I also have to go to the bathroom. But yeah, this was probably, I don't know. The Pokemon episodes I tend to enjoy more when I go back through them and get the screen caps and I'm just looking at like a few cute pictures of Pokemon and remembering the broad strokes of a decent story. But when you sit through 20 minutes of it and like nothing really new happens, you're just like, oh man, I really don't care that much. Like, this episode could have not existed, and I wouldn't be a worse person at all.
Like this could have been a week off for Pokemon, I think.
You can go ahead.
Next slide, what are we doing here? Oh, okay, Danger's in My Heart. And so this is probably the cutest episode of anime I've ever seen. I really enjoyed it. I gotta burp real quick, sorry. Anyway. So the last episode of Danger's in My Heart ended up with them confirming that they are going out on Christmas Eve, and both of them pretty much freaking out like, is this a date? Is this a date? What's going on? So it starts off with Kyotaru being on his phone. He's at the place an hour and a half early because he just wanted to be sure he was going to the right place. And then he sees that Anna is also an hour and a half early. It's like, just fuck already, okay? Come on, what are you... And she gives the exact same reason. I just wanted to be able to find the place. It's very cute. She's eating a croquette. At first he's like, could that be Anna? And then she rips open a croquette and starts eating it very happily. And he's like, that's definitely Anna, which is very cute. So they meet up.
Look at how dorkily he's dressed. She's dressed like a grown woman.
This is probably the coolest outfit we've ever seen him wear.
It is.
If he wasn't wearing the fucking mask.
He looks like an Apex Legends character.
He does.
So yeah, they go to a trendy cafe. There's a cute scene of them talking where she's like, I heard it's not a good idea to go to an amusement park because you have to stand in lines and it gets awkward, or like on your first date, because you have to stand in lines and it gets awkward. But obviously that's not true. And he's like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, nothing, He just really misses every fucking signal that he possibly could. But
that's pretty much this whole episode is him missing signals.
It's the
and
whole
her
show for the most
Well,
part.
yeah, but it's very heavy with it.
But there are so many cute little moments. I wrote in my notes here that what I like about this show is that we can get into Anna's head, even though like the show mostly is set in Kyotaro's head. He's the one having all the thoughts about her that we get to listen to. But the show is showing us an objective view of both of them, their actions. And through her actions, we as viewers can pretty easily pick up on how she's feeling in each scene. And it's not as straightforward as like she's throwing herself at him. She is, but she's not. Again, she's a very sexually non-forward person. She likes affection. She likes physical affection. She does not like sexuality as a topic. And Kyotaro is a very horny kid, and he also knows these things about her.
Well, he's not even very horny. He's just like a guy.
Sure,
that
he
is 13.
Just gets hard really easily.
Yeah.
Like, he's underexposed to, like, actual sexuality.
But what I mean by that is, like, so are all of the other kids in his class.
Oh, yeah, no.
And he's by far the best.
It's not that it's not that it's weird for his age or anything. It's just, like, Both of them are trying to figure out like how do we be dating without it, you know, making either of us uncomfortable. But the ways that
Which
they
is
end
how
up,
dating works.
yeah, and the ways that each of them ends up, like her discomfort is only really in those rare moments where she realizes she has been too forward for like how much she wants to be. Like she wants him to hang out with her, touch, you know, hands and like be normally dating. She does not want it to escalate further than she thinks that they'd be comfortable with. And he's more uncomfortable because he's just so in his head about everything that's happening that any situation that he doesn't have familiarity with reads as negative to him. Um, but this really cute moment is where he tries to sort of pass her on the stairs because he's heard that men are supposed to stand first in line, but she stops him like cold in his tracks because she wants to keep looking up at him. It's a rare
Yeah.
thing for her.
So she didn't actually really say this, but
No,
as soon
it's
as
just very
as soon as
clear.
she said no, don't walk down the stairs, I was like, oh, because they're the same height.
Yeah.
Adorable.
I
Which-
think even more so is that she's shorter than him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so if this show goes, I don't know, I guess I'll say 2 seasons, I would really like to see Kyotaru go through the growth spurt that he's going to go through. Because, like, he's like, what, 13 now?
yeah, he's young.
They're much younger. They're like 3 years younger than Skip and Loafer. That's what I've gathered. This is
Yeah.
kind of the middle school anime, and then Skip and Loafer's high school.
Mhm.
I was relatively, and I say relatively because I was always tall, short from like 12 to 14 before I hit my growth spurt. And before that point, I had always been the tallest kid in class.
Yeah.
And then I just wasn't getting taller.
Mhm.
I was just staying like at probably like 5'9", 5'10". And then I started like not being able to sleep because my legs hurt so much from growing pains. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then for like 2 or maybe like a year, I just consistently grew like an inch or half an inch every month. I was just growing. My whole family had to keep buying me new clothes. They were not a fan of it. I was not a fan of it because I liked some of my clothes. But yeah, I would. Kyotaru is kind of literally me, especially back in high school. You know, not the whole serial killing thing, but but I was interested in a lot of it, like interested in learning about serial killers and stuff. I was just never like, oh, I want to kill this girl. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I want to see him go through a growth spurt. I want to see them be cuter because she is tall for a girl, and I think that's kind of more of a signifier of the grade they are in, as
Yeah.
opposed to how tall the characters are.
She has pretty much done all her growing already, it seems.
Oh yeah.
Unless those titties are gonna get even fucking more crazy. This is a good looking shot, and I liked a lot of the ones in this outfit, but like there are certain times where they draw her from like a side profile, and her tits don't look right. They're like big balloons attached to her chest. This whole scene basically is him really in his head. This is you said he's a literally me. For me, it's not quite there in the same way it was with BOCCHI. In BOCCHI the Rock, it was much more of my type of in the headness.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of situation that I would feel a lot of the same emotions that he does about like, I don't belong in a place like this. I don't know how to order the food. I don't know what I'm going to expect.
When he
it
just
arrives.
outright
Like,
lies and says, I don't like sweet things.
right, and orders himself like a bleak coffee that he ends up not
A
enjoying.
black
like,
coffee, not a
yeah.
bleak coffee.
Well, is it black or is it just very bleak?
No, I mean, why do any of us drink black coffee? It's because life is pain.
Yeah, he there's a moment when he like drinks the coffee and he realizes like I don't even like the
This
thing
tastes
I
like
ordered.
dirt water or something.
Like,
He says something like that.
I really
Dirt soup. That's what he says.
I really shouldn't be here. But, you know, when her food shows up, he enjoys watching her eat it so much and ends up filming her doing it that, like, I don't know, I guess he feels
Well,
alright.
so he fails to take pictures because she is taking such massive bites of her pancakes. And so he's like, this would be better as a video. And then he takes the video.
I guess I like this scene because a lot of the time Kyotaro, you know, his hang-ups are obviously unreasonable. It's stuff that he shouldn't be concerned about, and it's fun to have a show that explores all those kinds of hang-ups. But in the same way I did with BOCCHI the Rock, it can get a little painful how repetitive it is. That it's
Yeah.
like all the
I
time.
wouldn't say it's gotten as bad as Bocchi the Rock.
No, that
It's
show was even
because
more
Bocchi's
repetitive.
very repetitive in like literally the exact same things are happening over and over again. This show is more like, oh, something in the same vein in a different situation is happening. And so even though these characters have gone through all this growth and are okay with each other now, they're back to square one. And I do kind of hate that.
I like the way this episode did it, though, just because, again...
It's their first time outside of school. It's Christmas Eve. It's a whole thing. Both of them are constantly like, is this a date? Is this a date?
And also just, I think his reasons for being withdrawn are reasonable. Like... he really doesn't understand this place and this lifestyle, and like he has a moment of thinking like, this really reveals to me how different her life and mine are, and it raises the question of like, do I want to become this person so I can spend more time with her? Will she like... It's interesting to me because I've always had the mindset, especially in relationships, that like, whatever I'm into, I'm gonna get you into. Like, you know, if I can't, that's fine. There's plenty of things that I've, you know, shown Bird that he didn't like in music or anime or whatever, um, and vice versa. But we've also both gotten each other into tons of stuff. And
I
like,
get around, round, round, round. I get around.
and like, it's just, you know, to me, kind of, I guess, taken for granted that people who hang out together are going to try to influence one another. And it seems like he hasn't even considered trying to get her into his things, which she would very obviously be super, super down for. If he expressed any of his interest to her, she would be full in on trying to do that. But he's so focused on trying to make her comfortable that he is making himself uncomfortable to do things with her. And I do think that is an interesting dynamic for these characters where, you know, the assumption is that just getting to spend time with this girl he likes so much would automatically be pleasant, and it's really not. He's kind of stressing out the whole time, you know, and he only kind of realizes that later in the episode. There's a whole scene where they're in a dressing room. I don't know. This is just very like young romance.
Well, so what happens here?
Tropes.
Anna Yamada-chan is trying on clothes in a store because she's just kind of dragging him around to do things. It was very clearly not about the missing volume of manga that they are on this trip for.
Yeah, no.
Excuse me again. Basically, they're in a woman's clothing store, and Anna goes, hey, this must be awkward for you, right? And he goes, no, I come here with my sister all the time. And she goes, oh, when do I get to meet her? And he goes, not right now. And then the sister shows up.
Right. He's trying to block her. He's trying to hide from the sister, so she pulls him into the dressing room. They have a little, oh, we're up close in the dressing room, and she turns around and her shirt's still open. He can see a tiny peek of her
the dress
bra.
isn't zipped
Whoa,
up.
And then
but so then she has this whole
I'm
thing.
being sexual trigger.
Yeah. She has this whole thing of like, so when do I get to meet your sister? You know, you said now's not a good time, and he just kind of like freezes up and goes, another day. Some other day, I think is literally what he says. And it's like, okay, dude. And then she goes, that's a promise, which I did not expect her to take that well, based on her character. Oh, also, we didn't get a screen cap of this. At one point, Anna is talking about her mom and how, what's his fucking name? Kiyotaro. Kiyotaro thinks that her mom is very strict. And Anna goes, no. She's only strict in public, but she calls me Anna-chan at home, and she's really, really sweet. And Kiyotaro goes, oh, how cute. Yes. And then she gets completely embarrassed because Kiyotaro just called her mom cute.
Yes, and she's never heard him say the word cute before, is the way she puts it. And so she kind of is stuck the rest of the episode trying to convince him to say that.
And I think as far as she gets is, hey, that dress looks good on you.
Yeah, she gets him to say some more, like a bunch of other words other than cute. I do think this is a great interaction, because this kind of happened between the two of us, where you kept calling me like pretty or something, and I was like, no, I want to be cute.
I don't fucking know,
It happened
dude.
Really early in our relationship.
I don't even compliment you anymore. Come on. What's the point? I pay for everything.
That's not true.
It is mostly true.
We share all of our income now because we both work the same jobs.
Yeah, but whose credit card does it come out of?
More often yours. So they have this really adorable moment where they're walking they're walking home, and basically he just kind of starts opening up to her about his personality, and then says something to the effect of like, I guess I had fun today. And she's like, I know, because you only are like this when you're having fun. And it's just a moment where I think he kind of cannot ignore that she's paying attention to him.
It's cute. She wraps the scarf around him. They're holding hands. Oh wait, no, this is after the train.
They're
right?
on the train on the way home, and she
as
ends up
they're getting
his
on
hand.
the train, they get separated by the crowd of people getting off of the
Yeah.
train, and then they're lost in the train, and so they find each other by holding hands. They briefly let go of hands. Kyotaro has to go through a whole thing like, do I grab her hand again? Would it be weird?
Yeah.
And then he does it because it wouldn't be weird.
Am I sure that's her hand? But yeah.
Yeah.
He grabs her hand again. They end up holding hands like the entire way home. It's really cute. It's really clear. He says, the way he puts it in his mind is, I think she might know that I like her.
And I said in response to this, yeah, she's known since the first episode, dude.
Yeah. Well, So this episode has a really fun after credits scene where Kyotaro is going back through the events of the day over and over, thinking about all the places that he could have said something better or whatever, which is something very relatable for me. I pretty much end any interaction by thinking about all the ways that could have gone better. But the main character of the shoujo manga that he's been reading starts talking to him, and he literally thinks
he appears.
Yeah, he appears in front of him.
Well, and it's not even just the main character of the manga. It's like a fusion of the main character and himself.
Yeah, because he says, I'm you. And he also, when he appears, Kyotaro's reaction is, oh god, I've gotten so stressed, I've created another personality. And I was like, oh boy, we're going there.
I get around.
We're in anime. It's happening. Everyone's schizophrenic here. Everyone's got multiple dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, he's just so. It's a fun scene. It's hard to describe this interaction because the guy appears and disappears, and he has a little text conversation that brings him back, and then as he's going to bed, the guy is comforting him,
that was
sleeping
weird.
on him. It is an odd shot, but I like it. All right.
Okay, we have a super chat.
Oh yes, that's right. We have a super chat to read. Scroll up.
M 30 shekels. Sup, here's money. That's a really great way to start your super chats.
It is.
The new Miyazaki movie is going to be out in 5 weeks,
Oh my
and
God.
Suzuki said there's going to be 0 trailers and no promotional material released until then. I think that's kind of neat. I agree. I think that's awesome.
That is kind of neat.
I did look up what it was called. It's called How Do You Live?
That's that one. Yeah, okay.
So someone had responded, and it was Ellen, and I'm sorry to shit on you a little bit, Ellen, but you said there's going to be a new Miyazaki movie. Retire already, old man. He would die if he retired. Are you kidding me?
He did retire after The Wind Rises, and then 2 or 3 years later announced he was working on this movie.
Oh my god, it's been 10 years?
He's been working on this movie for quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm really going to like this movie.
I think so. I've thought so ever since I heard the title, because how do you live is the question I have been positing to everyone I've met like a fucking AI since I.
For me, based on that title, I think this is going to be Miyazaki's No Longer Human, which is to say
that would be wild, a really
in-depth
movie.
Case study onto and it doesn't have to be fucked up because I don't think Miyazaki's that fucked up.
Right.
But just a really in-depth case study into his type of personality and maybe other people in his life's type of personality.
I would say The Wind Rises was that already, so.
But that was I think this might be a little more realistic.
I think it's going to be more of an interrogation into other people for sure. More of him asking, him going, creating a young version of himself that can go around and figure out what the fuck is going on in this world.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
excited for it.
Maybe this is going to be his Ava 3.0 plus 1.0. Go the fuck outside.
I mean, his mentor did a movie like that in the 90s. Only Yesterday is the original, hey, autist, go, hey, did you know that all of nature is man-made? Go build more of it. That's basically the message of that movie. Anyways.
I need to change my pants.
Thank you for the super chat, MNM. We always read our super chats in between shows we talk about if anybody submits one. All right, Dead Mount Death Play. I have written a note for this show. My one note is Deep Blue Sea reference. I don't know if anyone else is going to get this reference. I'm pretty sure it's a reference to the movie Deep Blue Sea.
I certainly did not get this reference because I haven't seen the movie, but I was like, is this referencing an American shark movie? Because up until this point, the girl who's obsessed with sharks has only referenced movies that don't exist.
I'll tell you, one of my friends from high school is a guy who was really obsessed with sharks. He studied to be a marine biologist. He did it for a couple of years and then realized like the actual job of this sucks and I don't want to do it. Like he just wanted to hang out with sharks all day.
I have a cousin who literally went through the exact same career trajectory because being a marine biologist, while really cool and you get to work with marine animals, you don't make any money. None.
So being the shark fan that he is, he had seen every shark movie many times. He was always excited for Shark Week. He was like that type of shark fan. So knowing people who are into sharks tells me they're going to have seen all the shark shit. So if this character was created out of any kind of genuine care for shark shit, they've probably seen the Deep Blue Sea. But the way it's referenced in the show is so indirect. She basically says that, this girl is Polka's niece, even though she's older than him. She just shows up with her big shark and with this boy who is a bodyguard.
Shoujo.
Who's assigned to be her bodyguard because their names are very similar. But Shoujo and her are like, we're going to move in. Our house burned, the place where all my sharks are kept burned down. Just like in that one movie, in the kitchen. And then Polka says, wasn't that cook so cool though? And I'm like, wait a minute. In the Deep Blue Sea, LL fucking Cool J is the cook in the underwater facility who blows up the first of the giant sharks using a lighter and gasoline by filling up the kitchen with gas and then blowing it up. So she is definitely referencing that scene, and he's definitely referencing LL Cool J, and I believe all of that because I know Ryogo Narita.
Hang on. M&M said in response to the marine biology not paying anything, well, squids don't pay well.
Are you squidding me? I went to all that college.
How much squid and how much kid are they? What's going on here? I can't believe we bought Splatoon. We're obsessed with it for like 3 months and have not played it since.
I bought Splatoon specifically to fill like the 3 weeks that I needed to kill in my life that month, and it worked perfectly. Splatoon 3 is great.
Polka's niece is awesome. She's obsessed with sharks.
She's a cutie. I mean, she's seen the Deep Blue Sea, so she's okay with me. Unfortunately, so I just said I know Ryogo Narita. By that I mean I've read his stories before. Baccano did this to some extent, and it's more so in the books than in the show. But Durarara eventually developed this habit of just basically having all of these badass characters and just putting them in a room and having them chill. Narita is just obsessed with this idea of like, what if you and your circle of homies that you just kind of chill with were all like super powered badasses, dude, and gangsters and stuff. And it always comes off really weird because it's like, yeah, I guess everybody has downtime. I guess they would be like regular people, but like, how much of the show is going to be badasses doing nothing, just slumming around, having like very mundane conversations about nothing?
And unfortunately, a lot.
And it would be different if this was like, say, I mean, okay, Narita's influences are obviously like Guy Ritchie and Quentin Tarantino movies. The thing is, those have really clever dialogue, and Narita's writing is really autistic. And this show is by far the most evidence of it in anime form, just because you don't have like the interpretation of, it comes from a manga, so it's way more like pure than as an adaptation than what we got from those anime adaptations of light novels. So like all of those tendencies that I wouldn't even say bothered me, like Durarara just got really boring sometimes because especially as it dragged on,
I
Like,
couldn't even understand the first episode of Durarara.
imagine if every character you saw in that episode was just hanging out in a room just like this for like, 15 minutes every 3 episodes of the show.
Yes,
Like,
I mean the only thing that from this guy that I've heard of that I think I might be interested in is Bakano, but it's not on anything. And so I've
yeah,
kind of always
I
avoided
think
it.
it's on Funimation.
Oh, well, fuck them.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so this episode is really fucking boring and slow. It's not that nothing is established. It's just that it's all established by way of characters
Nothing.
hanging out
It's
talking.
pretty much nothing is established. It's just all stuff we've learned in previous episodes.
Only new things are about this kid. This kid Xiao Yu or whatever the fuck his name is. The little trap boy. He is jealous of Polka. He has always been jealous of him, and he thinks that he has been assigned to come here so that he can kill the replacement Polka and then, just opportunistically kill Polka as well while he's at it. You got really incensed by this image of bad
Because
cooking.
that's not how you cook it. Like, what are you gonna? Okay, so first of all, she puts the bacon in the pan. She doesn't flip it, and then she puts an egg on top of the bacon. So you're cooking two things incredibly incorrectly. Because how is the side of the bacon that is covered by egg going to cook correctly? I could see how the egg's gonna cook fine, but man, why would you ruin bacon like that? This person's supposed to be good at her job. Anyway, so yeah. I don't remember. I think it's that the cops are hanging around the Shinoyama residence, and so Corpse God cannot return. Um, but yeah, then we're gonna go to the next slide. I can't. What should we tell them? All right. So I think at this point, everyone's gone to bed supposedly. Xiaoyu is awake, listening in on Corpse God, Computer Man, and Zombie Girl's conversations, and Corpse God's basically like, what the hell do we explain to these people when we go back to work tomorrow telling fortunes? Like, how the hell do we do this? And basically, the whole time Xiaoyu's listening to their conversation, she's like, what the hell, are they talking about an RPG? What's going on here?
At one point he starts telling a bunch of stories from his original world, and Xiaoyu's just like, this sounds like a bunch of video game shit. Are they playing a tabletop game? What's going on? That scene was kind of funny, but like, literally all that really happens in this episode is this boy keeps thinking about how he's gonna kill that fucking Polka wannabe and Polka. Eventually we finally learn the backstory of why.
Right, so Xiaoyu does her first mission and meets...
Xiaoyu's a boy.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
You keep saying she.
So Xiaoyu does his first mission and...
Gay Pride Month, let's go.
Okay, so anyway, thank you. Xiaoyu does his first mission and meets someone who is referred to by a first name that we have not met yet, which I fucking hate when shows do this. And as a result, Xiaoyu lost all of his arms, and so Xiaoyu's...
all of his arms, all of his limbs.
Yeah, his limbs, sorry. Xiaoyu, as a result of this, is just kind of laying in a hospital bed, and Xiaoyu's dad is talking to Rozan. Be careful there, buckaroo.
I almost knocked my beer over.
We already lost an audio interface. I'm not about to pay for a laptop. Anyway, fucking Xiaoyu's dad, or head of their clan, or whatever the fuck, is talking to Rozan and explaining that, well, yeah, they're not good as an assassin anymore, so we're going to use him as a Ting-Hu, I believe it's called, Ting apostrophe or hyphen HU. Well, this is the scene. So anyway, a Ting-Hu is basically like a garden pot, I think he says the translation is. Anyway, yeah. So basically what it is Xiaoyu's clan is so good at assassinating people because they create poison. Yeah. And the way they do this is some of their poisons have to be fungus that only grow in the entrails of living children. What?
So they're going to turn their kid in... Literally, the kid's parents are like, yeah, I mean, sure, our kid's useless as an assassin now, but at least we can harvest fucking poison out of his body. And the granddad's like, you people scare me with how fucked you are. I'm just gonna take this kid. I have to experiment with my new prosthetics anyways, so it's whatever. And he can hang out with my kids. My kids need friends. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he made friends with his kids because he really wants to kill Polka. There's also a scene where all the big titty ladies are having a big titty party in the pool. They're talking about shit. I couldn't say I paid much attention. I liked the boobs.
Yeah, I mean they're just kind of explaining like their understanding of the situation. Phantom Solitaire is just like he's playing with a VR game and he goes, "Oh wow, VR's come a long way since my stint in prison." And then he walks out of the VR place and immediately gets recognized and starts having pictures taken of him. This guy's a fucking clown. Like,
he likes the attention until the cops show up, and then he's got to run.
It's funny because when the cop shows up, both the cop and him were like, "Wait, what are you doing here?"
Speaking of the cops, the Fuzz has been on investigation route. This is there's like a lot of scenes of these guys just like deducing things that we already know because we have been following the main characters. We know what they're doing and what's going on. These guys are like, well, it seems like maybe they're doing this, and it's like, yeah, but we know. Like, we don't need. It's not funny to have a detective story where we already know the fucking answer to the mystery. Anyway, they show up at the office at the end. This episode was kind of shit. It's like a 5 out of 10.
I mean, it's not the worst episode of this show.
No, it's definitely not the worst, but it's certainly not the best. And now we move on to Kamikatsu, which was also pretty mid this week.
I was so confused at the start of this episode.
This one it's
So basically, we get to see Dakini, the sex archon, being created, and the Emperor explaining to her that, no, you're not going to make people want to have sex. You're going to eliminate that from them. And
she's been born with this curse of understanding sex completely, but her mission is to annihilate it.
And so she just keeps doing the...
She does it. She does her job until one day she meets a horny...
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like when you interrupt me. Anyway, she does her job, and then, before this happens, she causes the entire kingdom to lose their fertility.
Yes. She's very successful.
And so I was confused by that line, because I thought that meant they literally could not have children, even if they tried. What it seems to mean is that they just don't even have the concept of sex anymore.
Yeah. Well, and then she started to try and leak the concept of sex back into the
All
population.
of the dirty books we've seen in the show so far are a result of her.
Yeah, so she's just been writing all this stuff, and it turns out this little girl discovered those books and is really horny about it. It's interesting to me that the show decided to make her like 7 maybe when she discovered these books.
The weird part for me is that I thought this was Riche. It's not. It's not Riche. We'll learn who it is later, but
but she because if it had been Riche, who is an established character, it would make sense to go back to her being 7, discovering the books. But there was no real need to introduce a new character as a little girl at the age she figured this out. I'm not saying I don't appreciate it. I was 7 years old when I discovered pornography. I had the same kind of reaction.
This episode isn't even like a bad story. It is interesting where it ends up going. This is an interesting motivation for Dakini even, but
I like this part of the episode. I just think it was way too thin. Like, it's similar to the Hell's Paradise episode in that it is mostly like a big confrontation action scene, but it kind of feels like we've already explored all of the thematic intrigue of the series by the time the big fight happens, and the fight itself isn't that engaging. It's okay. This episode has its moments. It's like a 6 out of 10. It's not as bad as...
Alright, and that is Kamikatsu. Oh, no.
But, yeah, so anyway, in summary, the backstory, she met this little girl. The girl is an irregular person because she is capable of feeling these sexual emotions, so she is sent to one of the away camps. And in that camp, she is eventually murdered by the other people there because she has
sex, gets pregnant, and then a baby comes out of her, and everyone thinks she's a monster because no one has the concept of regular sex or even childbirth.
Yeah, so they all think that's really fucked up. It's not established what age she had that baby at. Well, will leave that up to no one to know. But yeah, that baby is obviously going to be the sex pervert that is here on screen. So, because of the fact that Mitama has no followers anymore, she's pretty much powerless. Um, what the fuck is her goddamn name?
Attar.
Attar. It's so hard for me to remember. Attar shows up, and this is actually the worst part of the episode. It's just that they explain a bunch of shit we already understood. Like, they go back over that Attar got all of her followers, why that powered her. It's unnecessary.
Well, more specifically, we go through why Attar has all of the followers and Mitama only has 2. And it turns out it was...
I just feel like we understood that in the last episode.
Yeah, anyway, so Yukito explains that this was all a plot that he had from the very beginning. He was always intending to take over this place with force. He just needed to switch all of the power over to Attar because she is the more combat-ready one. Then, Dakini basically goes, haha, you guys thought I didn't have more followers than you? Fuck you. Yeah. And she has like 14,000, Attar only has 6,000. Then all the girls go fucking horny for Yukito and start trying to bang him.
She puts like a curse mark on their uterus that makes them insatiably horny.
The succubus thing. The succubus tattoo.
Which, this is fun. I thought this was this is a fun replacement for an action scene for a sex comedy show to have. But again, it wasn't really that engaging because it's kind of been the whole arc, and it's like, obviously this is just going to get reversed, whatever. It's fine. It's cute. It's whatever. This is the best scene in the episode, is where Mitama, basically, she acts like she just asked one of these other upper gods that is like... Because I guess the Archon's power come from real gods that they are, like, cloned after, and so they have, like, the backing of those gods or something. So she went to...
So Dakini is just Aphrodite.
Yeah, something like that. And she just went to the actual Aphrodite and was like, hey, I don't think it's Aphrodite specifically, is it?
No, I was just... Okay. It's a comparison.
Yeah, there is, like, a specific god she visits who's, like, the patron god and says, like... She acts like, oh, I just said a few words and they kissed the ground and submitted to me, but the actual scene is her, like, bashing her head through the floor, begging and pleading, like, eyes bloodshot for this to happen, and the god's just kind of, like, dicking her around, but I guess I'll do it. Yeah, I thought that was a fun scene. And then when they're trying to finish Dakini off, Pervert Man comes
finish
back.
Her off, huh? Mm.
He comes back, he gets a hold on her, and... He apparently, main guy had slipped him a note that says, like, if you, I don't even remember what it says, like, basically just reminds him that Mitama is a woman, and if he does the certain things that a woman likes, he might attract Mitama, whatever. He traps the bitch, she gets attacked. Turns out in the end...
Toka, the girl who felt love that Dakini liked so much that got killed, it's Risha's mom. And Rish has the book that Toka had, and Dakini gets pissed off and is like, that was Toka's book. And Rish freaks out. She's like, how does she know my mom's name?
So yeah, I guess it's
also,
probably...
for what it's worth, how does Rish know her mom's name? It is implied that Toka is killed immediately after giving birth.
Yeah. I guess she heard about it. Dakini, this is the end. She got beat. The whole episode is just like a fight against her.
She doesn't die though, right? She's just around.
I think she's probably going to be reformed. Yeah, I don't think they're going to kill anybody.
I feel like this is just going to end up being like, they're just going to convert all the Archons into gods in their pantheon with Mitama as the number one.
Yeah. And in the end, they're all going to be a giant harem surrounding the guy who's not interested in any of them, which is pretty funny. Yeah, that was alright. Whatever. Oh boy, Magical Destroyers. This was a particularly weird one.
Yeah, so last episode we ended with this little girl and her head just kind of showing up and being like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, the head that she carries around.
And so we learned that this is the third king of SSC or whatever. I forget what they're called, but they're here to kill all of the otaku.
This, like most episodes of this show, was something that I enjoyed in a kind of passive way of, like, it's just entertaining to look at. But in terms of what the fuck is going on...
We had to rewatch, like, 15 minutes of this because Beatrice was not paying attention at all.
And I felt like I understood it less because I, at some point, asked Bird, is there anything more meaningful happening right now than that they're fighting a big head guy? And he goes, you need to rewind the last 8 minutes. And then after watching those 8 minutes, I was like, I have less of a grasp of what this episode is actually about.
This show is so confusing. I like it, but I cannot really tell you what's happening in it.
Well, and like the best thing about this episode is this had the most fun, inventive animation in the series so far. I'm not going to say it looks consistently great. There are moments of jank, but like there's a lot of just this head, the guy who is just a head. Oh my god, he kind of reminds me of, there's an anime called Ninja Nonsense where there's a character called Onsakumaru who's just like a yellow ball with arms, and he can do all kinds of like transformations. And like, you know, in animation school they tell you like draw a ball and make it do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like this is that concept taken to like, all right, let's see all the fun shit we can do with just a very basic template for animation. And like the first attack he does, he grows his tongue super giant and like crushes down on a crowd with it. So yeah, there's lots of just crazy, wacky, weird animation in this episode as the magical girls are all teamed up to fight this little girl who's bouncing a head around like a basketball that's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And the voice acting on the part of whoever played the head, he's going way over the top in a really fun way. I think it keeps the energy going throughout the episode. And, you know, Otaku Heroes kind of got a backseat. It's really just like the magical girls versus Headman. But his story is explained throughout this episode that is very strange. It's fun. But, so he apparently grew up in like a very broken home, and his whole life was just trying to protect his little sister. And at some point, he was so determined to die for her that he was dreaming of her literally killing him. So she did, because he wanted her to so much. She murdered her brother. Then she feels really bad about it, and so she's just sitting there like cradling her brother's head. And then the purple magical girl, who looks like she's literally wearing a one-star Goku
like
uniform.
Destroyer, right, or something? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
She's wearing a Goku uniform and the exact like hair skull thing from the world God only knows that the Shinigami wear in that. Really weird. But yeah, she basically says, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll bring your brother back. And I guess because he's in like this freer form, or maybe just he's so touched by the fact that his sister did what he wanted, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna protect her. You know, he's not trying to die again. He's fine with being ahead. He just wants to be around his sister. Why am I getting a program file auto update exe?
It's AMD. Just
get out of here. Anyway,
it's probably just a driver update. I don't know.
They fight this dude for a while, and where we start to see how this fight's gonna wrap up is there's a moment where Blue presses him between her boobs, and he kind of gets excited about it, and the little sister is upset because she's, you know, obviously his dedication to her is kind of in question if he's gonna get horny over being with some other girl. He kind of like apologized. He's like, I don't really understand what I did wrong, but you know, we can talk about it later. We just gotta win this fight. But you're starting to see how this is gonna come apart at the edges. So we remember the magical girls got these special drugs in the previous, I don't know, like 2 or 3 episodes ago. And so they're finally ready to take the drugs. At least Blue and Pink are. Red stays away from it because she thinks it's like, you know, they haven't tested these drugs yet. They don't know if they're good. But they take them, and Blue and Pink are having the time of their lives. They like get super fucking Saiyan powered up, but they're like astral projecting, like, I don't know, their emotional selves. And even though like physically they're both like, yeah, we feel great, we're ready for action, the like emotional selves are just like horny and just like way too in their feelings. They look like they're on Molly basically.
Yeah.
And the way that they're like arranged, because like it's a question of, oh, is this going to be a problem? Like Red's like, oh, those are gross, I would never take that drug. But then like Blue flicks a rock at the nipple of her thing, and it like, I don't know, comes, and Pink sees this and is like, oh, I guess we're both I guess we're both done being like assholes, and we're just gonna be powered up now. Like blue and pink, just like they're
Gobo gobo, gobo gobo gobo. Skip.
Skip.
That's Skip. Gobo gobo is Skip.
Oh, the same voice actress.
Gobo
Oh, that's
gobo.
fucking funny. But yeah, so I don't know. This was a weird scene. Also, this is the first of 2 times this week that a character is going to use the power of the smell of shit to attack an enemy. So love that. At one point, they give the guy the girls give to him a inflatable blow-up doll body because it's too hard to try to hit a stupid head all the time. And he's pretty excited about being, oh, I'm not your brother anymore, I'm your sister. He's definitely exploring this body, which I have a lot of questions about what this could mean psychosexually. I mean, he obviously hated his original body. He wanted to die.
Real quick. Pink/Skip is also Cuckoo in Heavenly Delusion. Oh, I'm going to cover that.
It's one of the little, one of the young...
Yeah, the frog-looking chick.
Yeah, frog-looking girl at the academy.
She's also, she's known for being in Mad Sound Euphonium.
That girl, yeah. She's a really loved actress for that role. And in...
Oh my god, she's young Vash, too.
Alright, enough. That's not this show. This guy is in the middle of turning into a fucking balloon person. And basically they accidentally gave him Luffy powers. Like he's like, I don't know, he's rubber gum or something.
No, I think he just has a body, and because his own body is so fucking, or his head is so fucking ridiculous, he can just extend that into the rest of his body.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a very confusing scene, and he doesn't stay with the body for that long.
So basically we learn that the younger sister, she never wanted to kill her brother. She just did it because he wanted her to, which I don't know. I guess I thought this was obvious already, but she wanted to also die, and she thinks it wasn't fair that he died and she didn't get to.
And it turns out, like, so brother had thought that she wanted to kill him.
Right.
So he asked her to. She only killed him because he asked her to.
Right.
Because they love each other so much. This is such a fucking confusing episode.
It's a weird one. Ultimately, they both just kind of get killed by the other bad guy again. Like, yeah. He hulks out and turns into, like, a very...
A Gundam, like, basically. Like, a big head as a Gundam.
Kind of. Yeah... because she's controlling him. I think he really, like, I referenced Apocalypse Zero in one of the earlier episodes, and he really looks like one of the monsters from that. And again, this is like, the last few episodes have been in this post-apocalyptic version of Tokyo, so it feels a lot like that series. But yeah, like, basically at the moment when it seems like the magical girls would win, then she just kind of shows up and kills them exactly the same way she did before. It's unclear, though, if she's killing the little girl here, because we see her like, it looks like she's stabbing the tongue, right? Like, it doesn't look like she's hitting the girl in the head, so I don't know if she's still alive. She's just kind of
I don't know. It doesn't look like she's killing the girl. I think she's just killing the head because the head has powers. It's
just that the girl isn't shown again, so it's weird that they didn't really clarify what happened.
Unclear.
Yeah. And then, Umbrella Girl's like, I'm just going to murder you all right now. And then her boss is like, don't. And she's like, okay. So she flies away on her umbrella like the Silver Surfer. I don't know. It was weird. It was neither my favorite or least favorite episode. I would, again, give this, like, probably a 6 out of 10, which is where I'm kind of sitting with this show, even though I like it's so much better of a 6 out of 10 than most things it would be, that it might qualify as a 7 just on sheer wealth of intrigue, despite how many problems I have with it. Like, I don't love it, but it's the most passively enjoyable this season for me, other than Skip and Loafer.
So I will say, the first half of this episode, I did not give a fuck about whatsoever. I was just like, where's Shima? Where's Sosuke? Where's Loafer?
You wanted the story to continue.
But it's heaven, or me, it's Christmas break. And so, of course, she goes home, and you were like, wait, why is she on a plane? I was like, she's flying home. She's from the country.
I just thought she had taken a train in the beginning. But I like this. There's a lengthy sequence at the start of the episode, completely silent, of her just taking this flight. It really sets you the tone of, like, this is going to be a slow, slice-of-life-y episode about her going back home. as somebody who's taken a number of flights, I really appreciated like what specific details they decided to focus on to give you like the 2 minute version of somebody going from one place to another. Um, and like the way that she's just kind of like wide-eyed the whole time about it, like just taking it in. um, I've said in the past that I never really related to the appeal of slice of life. Well, not even, I like slice of life anime, but particularly iyashikei healing anime, shows that are really really slow, that you're not really necessarily meant to pay your whole attention to. You're just kind of meant to let it soak in and soothe you. And I've said that this show felt that way to me, even though it's a little bit plot heavier than most shows that have that moniker. I literally think this appealed to me specifically because I have been actually working really hard lately. I used to say, if I was like a Japanese businessman who like spent fucking 18 hours a day between commute and work, and then I got home and I only had like 2 hours to decompress before I go to bed, I would love to throw on an Iyashikei anime and just like look at pictures of mountains that, yeah, they're 2 hours out of town, but I will never get the chance to go 2 hours out of town, So like, I, as somebody who has done a lot of travel, who is refreshed by images of the countryside, and like right now we're in Kansas City. I When we drive to work, it's fairly refreshing. I get to look at like some cool looking open fields and stuff like that. But ultimately, like, I came to this episode a tired and weary soul. It did not matter to me that nothing was happening because it was so pleasant. I was like, yeah, Skip, let's go home together. Let's go check out your hometown. Let's go see what's up. She comes off the plane. She's pretending she's like totally changed by Tokyo. She's too good for her family. She's wearing sunglasses. And they're like, we know you're full of shit. It's only been 4 months. They head home. Grandma's got a crock pot outside. She's testing out new recipes. The corn is bad this year. Everyone, the corn is bad.
We don't like the corn. We're not a fan of corn anymore.
Corn is not happening this season. They gave up on corn.
Children of the Who?
Fucking soy on the cob. Skip gets to see her friend again. I had never realized that her friend was like much larger than her and stronger until this moment where she jumps into her arms. Adorable. They hang out. They have fireworks on the beach. They go to the beach again the next day. That was the point when my brain finally shut off and the episode was just kind of happening and I was just sort of basking in it as though I were at the beach myself, eating watermelon as they do. Yeah, it's fine. It's cute. Nothing really fucking happens until she gets back home. She's supposed to see the play at the school festival. Basically, she spends break hanging out with fam, gets home. It's time to start focusing on the school festival. She's really excited.
It's time to start focusing on giving her friends squid crackers. That's her main focus as soon as she gets back to school, she brought squid crackers and she wants all her friends to try them.
But she also is super excited about how much work it's going to be to do the school festival. She's like, oh my god, this is going to be a legit event. This is going to be like stuff I get to do. She's rested, she's recuperated, she's fucking ready for action. And that energy really carries through to her interaction with Shima at the end of the episode. And like you said, I understand why you were you're like, where's Shima? Where's my guy? What's going to happen? But all that buildup felt so worth it when this was the payoff. Because
Shima is depressed that the red-haired girl from his past is in his life again. Just ditch her. Who cares?
Yeah, no, that bitch needs to go. She makes him insecure about himself.
I just want to see Skip like kick her ass or something.
She has convinced him that he doesn't deserve happiness. So no matter what he's doing, he feels like he's not allowed to be, enjoying himself because she keeps telling him that literally. And Skip obviously doesn't know any of that bullshit, doesn't care. She shows up to him and just starts dumping on him like everything that's going on with her, what she did, what's going on, and she's like, you probably don't even care about this. And he's like, you know what, I just like hearing you talk, honestly. And then she's like, all right, I gotta go. But then she turns around and she's like, you know what, you seem down. How did she know? She can see through his fake smile, man. She's seen the real deal. She gives him some of those cookies. He watches her walk away, and he's like, fuck. I think I might like that girl.
It's really cute.
These two got a bang. It's all on him. All he's got to do is say the word. It's over. This relationship is ready to go. Come on, Shima. You got to get rid of that red-haired bitch. Get your fucking shit together. Get with Mitsumi? I think that's her name.
Yeah, her name is Mitsumi.
Right.
We had gotten this variety pack of beers from a brewery called Breckenridge Brewery. And I gotta be honest, most of them are pretty fucking mid. They're not great. None of them stand out to me.
They're very okay. They're very beer.
The best one is probably the vanilla porter, but there is one that stands out as like one of the worst beers I have ever had, and it's called Palisade Peach Wheat.
I don't think it's that bad, but damn.
I tried it for the first time last night, and I wanted to throw up.
Jeez.
Like cold, out of a can, everything. It was perfect, ideal conditions, and it just the peach flavor is almost bitter. It's a fine wheat beer.
It is too much peach for beer.
Anyway, what do we got now?
All that's left is Dr. Stone, which we always save for last because it's in season 3. And this was an okay episode. It was fine. It had some moments. It starts off being very Ginro focused, and he's kind of a dumb fuckboy, but that's kind of the point. At first he's like, I'm just going to take my brother and run. Fuck it. There's nothing I can do. But then Suika is providing a distraction, just
rolling around.
Purely on faith that she thinks Ginro will do the right thing and get the lab out to the people. And so he hears this happening, and he's like, I can't believe she's doing that, even though she'd get caught. And then Kinro's, like, soul speaks to him, looking sexy and naked, by the way, and is like, hey, you should do the right thing. And Ginro's like, okay. So then they do. They fucking... It's really unclear exactly how. Like, we don't see Ginro, like, go to the lab mech machine.
No, he just kind of... Well, no. What happens is, fuck. I don't know. Suika's driving it, and Ginro, like, helps it get out. It's not...
He just kind of makes the decision that he's gonna do it, and then it, like, happens. But yeah, whatever. They found the lab. They made it. And so... The lab is on wheels, and they have disguised it in, like, plants and stuff to make it look kind of like a creature, so that the enemy won't understand what it is. So it drives on land, and the guys who are pursuing it think that it might just be some kind of beast. And Senku's like, how do we convince them that it's definitely a beast and not anything else? Let's create the smell of shit, so that this monster, this creature, will have pooped and therefore seem like a realistic beast.
Hang on. Ellen just opened her second bottle of vodka, and I said when she did that, I would go shotgun a beer in solidarity. So I'm just going to run into the bathroom real quick and do that. Be right back.
All right, I guess Bird's going to go shotgun a beer while I talk about shit and poop and farts.
I'm shitting and farting.
He's shitting and farting while I'm shitting and farting. But yeah, the Senku bot shows up for the first time in a while. I think Senku bot basically shows up to explain things that are like irresponsible for children to know or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, he teaches them how to make poop smell. Teaches us how to make poop smell. You just gotta heat up some meat that has been simmered in jasmine tea, I guess. Oh boy. It's the thumbnail of this episode, of this stream. So, the reason they were getting the lab is that they needed to be able to make makeup. There's a whole sequence of them creating makeup so that they can make Kohaku pretty enough that she can compete in the bride election. When they first create the makeup, she tries to do it herself. Of course, she has no idea what she's doing. It comes out like this. Scary. Terrifying. Very Alice Madness Returns
Specifically,
kind of
well, she's the Joker, baby.
She's
but
the
it's specifically
Joker,
so
baby.
bad because she tries to apply makeup while holding the makeup like a weapon.
Yes. She only understands combat. So of course she gets a prettification from the is her name like Aquamarine or something? No, that's the guy from Oshinoko. Sapphire? That sounds right. She gives Kohaku a makeover. Of course, Kohaku looks stunning and adorable in an actual dress. And then they're like, what if we just roll the dice? Can we get any of the guys to look convincing enough that they could break in? So we get to see everybody Senku's first. They're like, can you pull it off? Senku looks kind of feminine, but has too deep of a voice, so he's not going to work.
Gen looks really feminine and has the voice, but is too tall and that's not a good excuse.
No, Gen could easily have done this. I think they just thought it would be too obvious. Like, yeah, of course Gen can be a woman. Gen has already expressed this plenty of times throughout the series. Gen is clearly gender fluid. But you know what would be really funny is if Ginro, because he's a scrawny little bitch-made idiot, had to be a woman for this. So they dress up Ginro, and of course Ginro's like, I really hope I don't get picked. Like, I don't want to do this.
Oh, they must have won. We're having fireworks again.
Is that really this late? It's fucking midnight and a half.
Hang on, let me run out and check real quick. I want to see if that's what I think.
That sounded like it could have been a car accident happening outside. It was a very loud noise that we heard here in our hotel room.
I don't know. There's two girls just like sitting outside over there.
In any case, we're so close to done. Kohaku tries. So basically, the guy with the ridiculous hat, he also has a ridiculous voice. There's a part where he goes like, but like
for the longest time possible,
20 straight seconds. That definitely got a giggle out of me.
It's the kind of noise I might make. Say, just as a random example, if someone brought me a hamburger but no fries, and let's say even worse, the hamburger didn't have lettuce or tomato. It was only like mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, and onions.
I didn't know they were gonna.
It was on the receipt.
Yeah, but like, who expects that the burger doesn't come with anything?
Don't go to Big Boy Burgers in Kansas City.
It's
go to McDonald's.
In Independence. Don't do it. Anyways, so Kohaku is being approached by the creepy guy, and he tries to grab her, and she is about to do a fucking like crazy ass move on him, but Mr. Badass Leader Man's like, hey, I see you doing that. You seem really strong, and that makes me want to fuck. And she's like, well, we can fight about it.
It's cool.
They're gonna fight. It's building up for them to fight. That's fun. Oh, that was my last screen cap.
So basically,
they all three get chosen.
The recap for this episode. Oh wait, because you don't have Ginro getting chosen. So Ginro very specifically tries to not get chosen by being a tomboy, and
turns out he's into that.
Yeah, I mean, and they all go in response to this like, wow, he has such varied taste. Also, I hadn't noticed this before, but tall dude. He's got the marking on his back, like the same color as Ryusui. Yeah. I don't know if that's a petrification thing or just a tattoo, but that's interesting. Anyway, that's this week in anime. I hope next week is more entertaining or more...
Well, we have one more thing to talk about.
Oh, shit, right. We don't have screen caps from it because we can't get it.
Across the Spider-Verse. I probably should have grabbed like a promotional.
If you have not seen Across the Spider-Verse, go see it right now. Just get out of here. I don't care that it's midnight. I don't know what time it is where you are. Just go see it. Find a showing and go see it. Actually, it's really funny. Near our hotel, there's a drive-in movie theater that only does double features. And the double features were Across the Spider-Verse and Fast X, and then The Little Mermaid and... Fuck, what was the other one?
Something better than that, I think.
And it was like, wow, so they're just joining up the shitty movies with the good movies and making you have to watch them. And I could see going to the drive-in and paying for the two movies, Fast X and Across the Spider-Verse, because Across the Spider-Verse is first. Yeah. I could not see paying to see a better movie than The Little Mermaid and then just, I guess, sitting in my car for 2.5 hours. I haven't seen the movie. I don't actually have any opinions on it.
Across the Spider-Verse, though. Most perfect movie I've ever seen.
I would have been a lot more upset about this movie if I had not gone into it knowing it was a part one.
That's true.
That is a very
We
important
gotta
thing to
warn
know.
you, if you haven't seen this movie yet, this is the one spoiler you might prefer to have. It doesn't really have an ending. And, like, I thought it would at least have an ending, even knowing that it's supposed to be a part one.
Yeah.
When the ending, like, when the movie suddenly ends, I was just like, oh shit, I thought we were about, like, I thought the movie was about to get too long, because we were like, oh man, the third act, like, if we have a whole another section of movie, this is a little, and then it just ends, and I'm like, oh, well, I have never been so consistently entertained through the runtime of a film as seeing this in theaters. It was like just a constant sense of, and since the last Spider-Verse, like, that movie, I loved the first one. I already thought it was a masterpiece. This one's even better. It's tighter. It's even more focused. It's more thematically interesting. It's got better character beats. There's a moment that made me cry in about the middle of the movie.
I mean,
it's so good.
I can't even talk about, like, stuff that happens in it because I don't want to ruin how good it is. And that's from someone who spoils everything for everyone and himself.
Yeah.
I did not spoil myself for this movie, aside from I had seen on Twitter, this is a part one.
The only couple of complaints I have about the movie are things that I think will be addressed by it being a part one. There's a couple characters that I didn't think got enough time based on how cool they are.
Yeah. But I mean,
But
the
they're
third,
set up
I
to
think the
do
third
more
one
in
is
the
just
next
going to be
one.
like a movie of basically Spider-Man of the Week. Miles and I can't even talk about that. Real quick, something fun I learned. So basically, across the Spider-Verse, Spider Society is introduced. Miguel O'Hara is the antagonist, along with a couple other people. Miguel O'Hara is Cyberpunk 2099, if you don't know. Or
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2099, if you don't know. Something I learned about this by scrolling Twitter during the show was every single piece of Spider-Punk's clothing.
Oh, Spider-Punk is my favorite.
He was the best. Is animated at a different frame rate. Like,
That's nuts.
his guitar, his jacket, his pants,
He's
his
constantly
mask.
changing color and animation style and frame rate. He's just the most anarchist piece of animation that could exist.
He also kind of spends the entire movie talking like Roadman Shack to
Yeah.
the point where both of us were like, "Is that
Roadman
Shack?"
Shack.
But it's actually Daniel Kaluuya, who is he's known for Nope and Get Out and probably Black Mirror, 15 Million Merits.
Ellen Horizon said Super Spider-Man lore sounds weird.
Yeah.
That's the theme of the movie, really. Like, because Spider-Man has existed forever. He's been a ton of different things, and the story has been recursive and retold over and over again. And the movie is literally
I
about
think
that.
this is truly the best movie in terms of portraying A, Spider-Man, and B, comic book canon.
Yeah.
And just in general, like they use the word canon multiple times throughout the movie, which at first kind of annoyed me because I don't really need
There
that
are
level
literally
of
TV tropes explanations on the screen. Like,
Yeah.
there's a part towards the beginning where
they explain
Miguel
Cockney.
says,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Miguel says, "Oh, he's got hammer space," and then
And they
like,
explain
a
what
thing
hammer
comes up,
space
it's like
is.
hammer space is a liminal dimension where you can pull any item from. And I was like, that's literally a TV trope.
My favorite use of that was there were a couple times when Spider-Punk uses Cockney rhyming slang, and they it's very inappropriate, and so they put it on for like a second, and then it's gone. They'd say shit in this movie a couple times, which I thought was pretty interesting.
There's a scene where she says shit, and then they both say shoot like 5 times in a row. I thought that was funny.
Birthday fruitcake, but it's not anime. This movie might as well fucking be anime.
I mean, that's the thing, right? So Into the Spider-Verse already was like the most taking influence from anime that a Western film maybe had ever done in animation. And it has immediately been copied by stuff like Puss in Boots, which was shocking how much it felt like a Trigger anime.
It is crazy. I hadn't even thought about that movie in watching Across the Spider-Verse, but it is crazy how similar they are.
Yeah. Well, and Across the Spider-Verse takes
animation
things
styles,
to
not in
just-
what happens.
It takes things to another fucking level on the like. The movie constantly looks different, and every single style it implements, I'm like, how even the fuck? Like,
Well, so I will even say there were some moments towards the beginning of the movie where I didn't think the animation looked that great. And then I think that was just to completely subvert expectations because right after that it's like, wow, this is the prettiest thing I have ever seen.
I was pretty sucked in, right? Because the first part of it is in Spider-Gwen's universe, and it looks exactly like her comic book series.
Yeah.
Which it did in the first movie, too, but we didn't spend much time there. And, like, just, I love the aesthetic of the Spider-Gwen comics. Hate the writing. Don't care. Haven't read very much of...
The point of Spider-Gwen is
what she
basically
called?
that she's Deadpool,
Ghost
right?
Spider. No, you're thinking of Gwenpool.
Oh, Gwenpool, sorry. That is Gwen Stacy, though, right?
That is a kind of, not really, but she's based on Gwen Stacy. She's metatextually Gwen in that Gwenpool was created as a Gwen Stacy dressed as Deadpool because she has been dressed.
Oh, no,
as,
no.
like,
Her
every
alter
other
ego is
character.
Gwenpool. Like,
Yeah.
literally Gwenpool.
Yeah, she's an original character.
Okay.
But in any case,
She's also apparently one of the first openly aromantic or asexual superheroes. Happy Pride Month.
Yeah. So Gwenpool was like originally just an illustration in a Ghost Spider volume, I believe.
Hang on. I'm on Gwenpool's wiki. This is the last thing I'll say about her. Under species, it says human, and then in parentheses, retconned herself to pretending to be a mutant.
Okay.
I just think that's funny. I don't know anything about Gwenpool.
Yeah, Gwenpool's story is about she thinks like, hey, I got teleported into a comic universe, so nothing matters, and all the characters are like, actually, to us, this is all real, so please take it somewhat seriously, you sociopath, and that's the main thrust of her story. It's pretty fun. But anyway, the Spider-Verse movie.
Under occupation, one of them is literally neat.
The Spider-Verse movie is really fucking good. I don't really want to go into too much detail because I don't want to be here all night. This is already 2.5 hours long, and I'm so excited
hang on.
the podcast isn't too long.
To put it simply
this
then,
week.
who was your favorite Spider-Man that showed up in the movie?
Oh, man. Well, Miles, but...
Well, no, sorry. Who was your favorite Spider-Man that was not a main character in the movie? Just, one of the weird alternates.
Oh, man. Oh, well... Spoilers, but there's a certain black comedian who once said,
No. Don't talk about that one. That's not a Spider-Man. He's not Spider-Man in the movie.
Is he not implied to be a Spider-Man?
No, he's Prowler.
He's a Prowler.
Yes, he's Prowler in the live-action movies. In the Tom Holland movies.
Oh.
He's Prowler.
Okay.
And so that is the version... I've already spoiled it. Childish Gambino is Prowler in the movie.
He's like one of the captured... I thought he was supposed to be one of the, like, deviant variants.
He's Prowler. I mean, he is, but he's still Prowler.
Right, because Prowler is also...
So, basically, this movie's plot, and I'll explain it very simply without explaining too much, is... after the first movie, Gwen and Miles left a huge hole in the multiverse that just kind of allows anomalies from different universes to go into universes they don't belong in. And so Miguel O'Hara has created Spider Society to stop this. Yeah. I have absolutely no idea what you guys are talking about anymore. That's how comic books work.
Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, if you want the simplest way I can describe it is if you happen to have seen Rick and Morty, the Council of Ricks, but for Spider-Man. Which I knew was coming. I knew, we already had.
I was
the
really
Kangs,
happy. So there's a whole scene where Miguel O'Hara is explaining to Miles there are certain events in Spider-Man's history, like Uncle Ben dying, that just happen. They always happen. There's nothing you can do about them. And Miles, hears about the one that's going to happen to him, and he goes, I don't want to do that. And then he runs away. And Miguel O'Hara comes over the loudspeaker at Spider HQ and goes, catch Spider-Man. And then they do the meme. That every Spider-Man's pointing at each other.
I have to explain why this is the best, because I love the Council of Ricks and the whole idea of that in that universe. Rick Sanchez is always going to be a guy who's smart enough that he finds his way into space. He creates a dimensional portal, and so enough of them meet up that the ones that are less independent and individualistic form a society together. In this case, with Rick Sanchez and with Kang and with even the Time Space Bureau from the Marvel Universe, they've kind of been redoing the Rick and Morty thing of all the smartest people who break space-time are going to gather. In Spider-Man's case, it's not that any of them are brilliant. They just eventually are found by the Spider Society. They don't find their way there. Like, it comes to them. It's all started by Miguel O'Hara. He's in charge of it. They're recruiting Spider-Mans to be a part of this thing. There just happens to be fucking a million Spider-Man.
Actually, something interesting at the beginning of the movie is so the movie after the whole Gwen sequence opens with Miles Morales fighting a villain called Spot, who is basically a guy whose skin has been turned into all white and then the ability to create, I guess, black holes.
I think it's implied he's lying that it's his skin.
No, it's his skin. It is his skin.
Well, because he tells him at one point, your costume's bunched up in the back. Like, he says to him, like Miles says to Spot, like, you're not, that's not your skin.
No, it is his skin. The whole point of his character is that it's his skin.
Okay.
The
I
Spot,
just thought he was implied to be lying.
No, he's not. Spot says it multiple times. Like, he can't get a job, he can't be around his family, he can't do anything because this is his skin now. He has no choice.
Right.
And sure, he could be lying a little bit. I think that is probably his skin, and also it gets worse as the movie progresses, so
That's
I
true.
really think it's his skin. But, so, Miles is fighting this guy Spot, who can just kind of open portals, kind of literally like Portal. And he just kind of blows him off, you know? He doesn't really care about this guy, because he's very new at it, he's not doing a great job, and, why am I bringing this up? I don't even remember what I'm talking about this.
That's it. Across the Spider-Verse, really great movie. We're going to wrap up this podcast so that it doesn't go for 3 hours this time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm excited for the fact that some of these shows are going to start ending soon, and maybe we'll have fewer shows to cover. We're definitely going to cover less shows next season because this podcast, I mean, 2.5 hours isn't so bad, but it's not supposed to be that long. So it's really hard to keep up with 10 or 11 anime.
I'm not going to
every
promise
week.
anything like this, but I do think when the next season comes around, it would be... God, I even hate that I'm suggesting this. It would be interesting for the first episode of every season that we do to just be doing a finish or fail. Like, just based on the first episode alone. Just watch everything, watch the first episode of everything, and then decide, well, what are we reviewing this season?
40 shows that come out every season.
And I can almost guarantee 30 of them will drop.
As long as we're willing to drop them within, 3 minutes.
Yes. No, I'm perfectly fine with that. We were doing that on this season.
Yeah. I mean, I just picked... Well, this season I just picked everything that had over 100,000 viewers. And
you need to watch Free Run next season. No, there were a couple shows that, I mean, sure, I'm sure you picked because of that.
Free Run?
But we dropped just because they were boring. I can't even remember what they were.
Yeah, there was Level 99.
Oh, the Insomniacs one.
Insomniac and...
And also, those two shows, Level 99 and Insomniacs, are not, totally boring.
Oh, there's the other one as well, the Cheat Skill in Another World. That's probably
no. That's the level 199.
No. That's the one where the girl's dating a guy in an MMO.
Oh, right. So that one is actually boring. The one where the girl's dating a guy in an MMO.
Supposedly that one's actually good. There were some people who were like, "Oh, you really missed out." Asher really likes that show.
Well, Asher,
it was fucking boring.
Asher, give us $10 on Patreon, and then maybe we'll review it on a bonus episode.
Submit it as a potential. It's not gonna win. Sunny Boy is probably going to win based on the fact that it's got the most votes before it even has been in the poll.
Free Run looks cool. We might check it out. I can't promise anything. Hey, Last Aces is here. Hey, Last Aces, thank you for giving us $10 every month. I know we already shouted you out.
All right. Thanks for watching,
Was there anything else I wanted to say? Let me just remember before. Let me go in the chat, because if there's something else I wanted to say, it would be based on here. Nope. Okay, bye. Woo! Anime forever, always remember.